Yeah, hope y'all are ready. Okay, good morning. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2026 City Planning Commission. My son turns 18 today, so this will be fun. Commissioners look forward to hearing your cases today as we understand every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention they need to build consensus between the applicant, public, and city staff. Our meeting will follow the advertised docket, and we will hear the cases in the order they are listed, beginning with the consent agenda, followed by regular docketed items. The commissioners believe we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is virtual and recorded, we have time limits for the cases that we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations and 20 minutes for the applicant, plus questions by any of the commissioners. When we move to public comment, we will call on those who have joined us in person first, followed by those who are joining us virtually. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes when speaking as an individual, or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or a larger group. Please be brief and limit repetitive comments. Those of you who are joining us virtually, be ready to go when it is your turn to speak. Have your video camera turned on, and more importantly, your screen name correctly displayed. This helps us make sure we get your testimony for the record. So as we get started, I ask staff to provide additional ground rules and instructions as we conduct this meeting to ensure we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Sarah, can you remind us of those, please?
Sure. I will describe the testimony procedures for today's hybrid meeting. First, for those joining us online, please know that there are 2 categories of people participating in the meeting, attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff, and Commissioner Padilla is online.
Okay.
If you are an applicant or a member of the public who would like to testify regarding a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know you would like to speak. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Please click this to raise your hand to request to speak on a case. You will need to accept a promotion to panelist in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic. You will reconnect shortly. If you are calling in on a phone line, your screen name appears as your phone number. You can raise your hand to speak when the case is announced by pressing star followed by the number 9. When you are promoted to panelist, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera so that the commission can see you when it is your time to speak. Your microphone needs to be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. When you are called upon, you will be able to share your screen to display exhibits. The chat box is only for questions about the agenda. The merits of each case are not to be discussed in the chat box. For everyone joining us today in person, applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is announced. Members of the public who would like to speak may approach the microphone on the podium located to the left of the seating area when the chair calls for public testimony. If you are here today in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well. Joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. Please silence or keep on mute all of your electronic devices and be quiet when entering and exiting the hearing room. The Commission has established time limits for all testimony during the meeting. You will be given 2 minutes to testify when speaking as an individual, or 5 minutes if you represent an organization such as a neighborhood association, HOA, CID, or business association. And those are all of our procedures.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items for the commission. So Commissioner Padilla joining us online, please make sure you keep your camera on so we know that you're part of the group. Otherwise, when you turn it off, people think you're kind of went and did something else. So just make sure you have that on. And then everybody here, make sure you speak into your microphone. It is being on the virtual last meeting, it is hard to hear people from time to time. So make sure you have it about not very far from your mouth and speak right in that sucker. So everybody can hear. Same with those of you that are joining us at the table. So, okay, with that, let's get started with our consent agenda items, please.
The consent docket is item C1, case CD CPC 2026-40, a request to approve an MPD final plan for phase 2 of Retreat at Woodhaven on about 24 acres generally located at the southwest corner of Northwest 100th Street and North Platte Purchase Drive. Staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Padilla, anything? Okay. With that, well, let's open it up for public testimony. If anybody would like to speak regarding docket item C1, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature, and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
All right, so we'll close public testimony then. I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item C1 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item C1. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Kim,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Essex.
Aye.
Morel.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. All right, let's move on to our regular agenda items, beginning with those that want to continue to a future date.
Our continuances begin with docket item number 9, case CD SUP 2025-39, a request to approve a special use permit to allow for used vehicular sales in District B3-2 on about 0.6 acres generally located at the southeast corner of East Bannister Road and Holmes Road. Staff recommends continuance with fee to June 17th. Docket item number 11 is case CD ROW 2026-4, a request to approve a vacation of right-of-way for approximately 60,500 square feet of Michigan Avenue, 17th Street, and Euclid Avenue within the Parade Park MPD, generally located north of East 18th Street between Woodland Avenue and Brooklyn Avenue. Staff recommends continuance without fee to June 17th. And docket item number 12 is case CD SUP 2026-25. A request to approve an extension to a previously approved special use permit for a parking lot expansion for St. Teresa's Academy on about 17.01 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Main Street and West 57th Street. Staff recommends continuance without fee to June 17th.
Okay, anybody have any questions regarding docket items 9, 11, or 12 for continuance? Okay, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody that would like to speak regarding continuance of docket items 9, 11, or 12, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. I'll take a motion.
Chair Crowley, move to continue docket items 9, 11, and 12 as stated in the docket.
Second.
Motion and a second for continuance of those three cases. Margaret, can you take roll call, please?
Kim,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Essex.
Aye.
Morel. Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like that motion passes. So let's go back to docket item number 1, please.
Docket item number 1.1 is case CD CPC 2026-19, a request to approve an amendment to the Greater Downtown Area Plan from residential low density to downtown mixed use on about 1.7 acres generally located at the northeast and northwest corners of Bellevue Avenue and West 30th Street. Docket item 1.2 is case CD CPC 2026-18, a request to approve a rezoning from District R2.5 to District DX-2 on about 1.7 acres generally located at the northeast and northwest corners of Bellevue Avenue and West 30th Street. And item 1.3 is case CD SUP 2026-14, a request to approve a special use permit for indoor warehousing and limited manufacturing in proposed District DX-2 on about 1.7 acres generally located at the northeast and northwest corners of Bellevue Avenue and West 30th Street.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Genevieve Conn-Smith with City Planning and Development. And one moment while I share my screen. As stated, we have 3 companion cases before you for an area plan amendment, rezoning, and special use permit for the North Town Center site, which is located in the west side of Kansas City. The subject site is 3 parcels highlighted in yellow here. There's an existing building on the eastern parcel, and the western 2 parcels contain a parking lot. So I'll start with some site history here. As I mentioned, there's an existing building on the site. This is the building in question, has existed since the 1920s, as you can see from this original Sanborn map. And then the area to the west here highlighted is currently the parking lot. And just a closer up view, you can see that this building was established as the Central Paper Box Company, which did limited manufacturing, basically of assembling and making cartons and paper boxes and products like that. And so in 1973, this property received a certificate of legal nonconforming use for this use because the building was constructed nearly around the time that our first zoning code was adopted. So there was previously no zoning on the site. And as far as I could find, it's been zoned residentially. So it's always been non-conforming, but in the 70s, they did receive the certificate allowing them to continue that operation of manufacturing or folding cartons and paper boxes. And so that has been in effect. And then this all was brought to our attention due to some neighborhood reports of different uses on the property. And so that's how we got to this spot. So first, looking at this area plan amendment, I'll talk a little bit more about the uses when we get to the special use permit section. But as you can see, the majority of this area is all yellow, which is a residential low density recommendation by the Greater Downtown Area Plan. And the request is to amend the subject site to show a downtown mixed use, which you can see over here in the blue. And then Luke Ranker has some additional commentary.
Good morning. I'm Luke Ranker. I'm the planner for the 4th Council District. So when we looked at this with the Greater Downtown Area Plan, the alignment is low for the change in the area plan for the future land use. And the rationale for that is that the escalation from residential low, which is the current future land use, to downtown mixed use is quite an increase in intensity. Sometimes you'll see us have a medium or high alignment with an increase in intensity, and that's usually because there's something else involved in the plan that meets another goal. So for instance, if this was residential low and we were going to residential medium to build more housing, and the goal set or the plan said that we should build more housing and increase density, we might have a medium alignment with that. But that's not the case here. And then that DMX, that downtown mixed use, it conflicts with the surrounding future land use quite a lot. All of the land use around there, as Genevieve pointed out, is mostly that low, but even the more intense land use around there is all residential. And the DMX does allow some residential, but it allows a lot of other uses that could conflict with residents. So the question is why downtown mixed use future land use in the first place? And that is, as we'll talk about in a little bit, the uses there. Really, if we were going to do a manufacturing future land use here, which is what the current use is, that would be a huge increase over what is currently happening there. And the DMX, the downtown mixed use definition, which I have on the screen here, I cut it down a little bit. It is intended for some light industrial at lower intensities than the rest of the downtown. And when we think about this in context of downtown and light industrial, we're thinking about like artisan manufacturing, like low scale manufacturing, something like a small scale print shop or a pottery place, or a craft brewery if that's your vibe. And so we're really thinking about very low impact on the neighborhood. And then the existing downtown districts are nearby, right? So if you look at this really excellent graphic I created, there are 2 circles that I drew there, and you can see that immediately to the south, there is a downtown residential, which is a downtown district. And then clear to the west, we have a downtown mixed use. So there is precedent in the neighborhood for a downtown future land use. Yeah.
So then, of course, in conjunction with the area plan amendment, we have the request for rezoning, and we need the area plan amendment and rezoning to align generally. So as I mentioned, the site is currently zoned R-2.5, which is a residential zoning district, and the request is to rezone to a DX-2. This is a downtown mixed use district, and that -2 just indicates the lot and building standards permitted, things like height and setbacks. But again, the building is existing in this case. So then moving on to the special use permit, this is the site plan that was submitted. Really, one of the changes we went over was this addition of a dumpster enclosure here right now on the site. There are just dumpsters out in front of the building, which is related to one of the complaints made. And then some additional landscaping to screen the parking lot from 30th Street. And so the special use permit goes along with this DX zoning because DX zoning allows limited manufacturing and indoor storage uses with a special use permit. And so those are the uses that are currently in the building as identified by the property owner. And so in order for them to come into compliance, this rezoning and special use permit would allow them to continue with their current tenants. It would also allow other uses that are permitted by right in the DX district. So if another tenant came in and it was a use permitted, they would be able to do that in this building as well.
So looking at the special use permit, I paid pretty close attention to the Kansas City Spirit Playbook, which is our comprehensive plan rather than the GDAP that we talked about earlier. And it again has a low alignment with our comprehensive plan. There were not a lot of goal supporting criteria that were applicable to this project, but the two that had the low alignment were the connected city, which is our mobility goal. And that was primarily because this site is pretty far into the neighborhood. So there's a potential conflict between the truck traffic that it will generate and the residential neighborhood around it. We're not on Southwest Boulevard. We're pretty far removed from that on some pretty narrow old streets. And the other reason is that this doesn't lend itself to our pedestrian scale block goal and walkability. And that is primarily because of the use of the parking lot across the street. It will, I've heard me harp on parking lots before. They conflict with pedestrians, but it also kind of breaks up the grid down there. And then the second one was our well-designed city. And this is where we look at the development form. We have a number of different forms of development, styles of development around the city. This particular part of the west side is a neighborhood development form. And again, looking at the site and the parking lot, the neighborhood development form really talks a lot about housing and scale of housing because obviously it's a neighborhood. The one that was applicable here is this kind of idea of transitioning between more intense uses and the rest of the neighborhood. And there's not really any kind of transition in this area between this use and the surrounding neighborhoods. And it kind of breaks up the feel of the neighborhood, particularly that parking lot, because you have a series of small scale bungalows. Then you have the sort of vacancy of the parking lot, and then you have some more housing around there. It kind of breaks up that what we want to see in a neighborhood development pattern.
Okay, so then I just have some site photos here again, just to show you a little bit of how we got to this point. So this is an older street view from 2022. As you can see, there were dumpsters out, exposed, not screened, nearly in the right of way, just because this building is built so close to the property lines. There was storage of semi-trailers here in the parking lot. And then another street view image from the intersection. This one is more recent. This one's 2026. So you can see the storage of materials has gone away, but we still have the dumpster issue. And then these are site photos that were submitted by the applicant. So again, we have the dumpsters still adjacent to the building. We have the parking lot. We do have, these photos do show gravel in the parking lot, which is not identified on the plan and not permitted in either the current district or the proposed district. So there is a correction on the special use permit that the gravel be removed prior to this case going to the Board of Zoning adjustment. This is the language specifically in the code that all unused areas, which the area where the gravel is not identified and striped on the plan for parking. It's just an unused space. So it must be landscaped or retained in a natural state. And then there are some there are mostly standard conditions on the special use permit, but I did want to point out two more specific ones. The special use permit will have an expiration date of 2 years, so the property owner will need to come back before this commission and the board to renew this for the limited manufacturing and the storage uses. And there's just another kind of blanket condition for no outdoor storage on the site, since again, that was part of the nuisance that brought this to our attention. And so depending on your recommendation today, the area plan and rezoning would move forward next to the city council. And then after those are approved, then the special use permit would go to the Board of Zoning Adjustment with your recommendation, of course. So with that, staff is recommending approval of all these cases. And then, of course, with the conditions in the special use permit that are attached to the report, there is public testimony in your report, as well as one that I received after the staff report was posted that I handed out to you all. And I can take any questions.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So first, just seeing the screen that you have now, do you have to approve all three? Does the plan amendment rezoning have to be approved to approve the special use permit, or can you do one or the other? Or-
So in this case, all of them would need to be approved, maybe with the exception of the area plan amendment. But the rezoning would absolutely need to be approved in order for the special use permit to be approved.
And they can, as of today, they can continue to do what they're doing today without doing anything, correct? Or no?
No.
They have to do, even though they've got the letter of legal nonconforming?
So they are operating, the whole reason this rezoning and special use permit has come up because they are operating outside of what the nonconformity, the letter granted. They have added additional industrial uses. And so once there's any expansion or alteration of uses not expressly permitted by that letter, then it technically loses its nonconforming status.
Okay. I had another question, but it slipped.
But to your point, the area plan amendment and the rezoning could happen without the SUP. Not that anyone wants that, but that could happen.
If the area plan amendment and rezoning were approved, then the building could be used for any DX use permitted by right, but not what's currently being used. That's correct.
Well, the chair thinks of his other question.
I got
Okay, go.
it. No, go ahead with yours since you're on.
So, pretty clear lack of alignment with plans that we weigh these against. But then in situations such as this, often we look at, the building and what it's been used for in the past and ownership as well. And so do you have any of the history of what happened from that letter of non-conforming use to today in terms of changes of use, changes of ownership?
I don't have the specific on when those uses changed and the ownership changed. I did a very preliminary look at any past zoning clearances, because that's usually kind of the first step. When someone gets a business license, they get a zoning clearance that says that the use is actually allowed. And I believe the only one I saw was for a cabinet maker that's been in there for a handful of years. But I don't recall seeing any zoning clearances for the contractors type storage that's in there now.
Okay, thanks. And sounds like that, or it looks like the applicant might have that history.
My other question for staff was in the report, and I think even in the presentation, it was mentioned a couple of times about low alignment with the comp plan and the other item. So if that's the case, why is it still recommended an approval?
So there's multiple criteria. One of the approval criteria is, of course, does it align with city policies? And it has a low alignment with the area plan and comp plan. But again, as Commissioner Enders mentioned, we're weighing that this is been in existence. These very specific uses that we're talking about, like the storage aspect, has not been part of it, but this has been used for manufacturing for a long period of time. So we're sort of balancing what has always been there and always been non-conforming, to now it's become an issue, and the rezoning is the path that we put forward for the applicant. But that's a great question. This one was definitely, we did a lot of coordination in the recommendation for this.
Imagine so. I was
Sure.
just curious on that.
Yeah, so I'm going to add to that a little bit. That was my question as well. But then follow up is, what is the most recent change in use to it that kind of would be like, was there some added situation that made it even more like, because if this was something that was non-conforming for 30 years, right, or longer at the same use, why is there so much um, public testimony against it if it hasn't changed in the last 5 years, let's say?
Well, and I think I'll defer some of those details to the applicant team, and I know there's neighborhood testimony. They probably have more details.
Yep, that works.
Any other questions for city staff? Commissioner Padilla, anything? Okay,
No, I think
let's welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Crowell, members of the commission. My name is Chris Maddox. I'm an attorney at Rouse Fretz White Goss, address 801 West 47th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. To my right is Mark Abbott, the property owner. Do you have our PowerPoint? All right, you can go ahead and go to the next. So I think Genevieve did a great job covering a lot of the basic facts for this property. I'll try to limit any duplicative comments, but essentially we've got, as Genevieve pointed out, about a 2-acre parcel of property in basically 29th, 30th Street on Bellevue, which is split by Bellevue on either side. It's currently zoned R2.5. We went into our stacks at our firm. We have the zoning code dating back to 1919 when it was originally adopted by the city. And as far as we could tell, looking at all of the ordinances and the zoning map and the history, the city kind of adopted residential zoning as kind of a base holding zoning back when it adopted its first code in 1923. This building was under construction at that time. A portion of it was already completed, and then it finished up construction, I believe, in around 1923. And so as far as we can tell, it has always been zoned R2.5 or its kind of companion. Back then, I think they referred to it as like a U-2 or a U-3 zoning classification. Over time, that's evolved to the current R2.5, which you probably know would only allow 8 single-family residential units by right. And then again, this building is over 80,000 square feet. Next slide. This is a view from 30th Street looking into the parking lot, across the parking lot. You can see kind of the structure of the building. It's about 3 stories on one side. A lot of that is loading dock doors, but it's primarily a 2-story building with really high ceilings. Next slide. This is a closer view of the subject property. I do want to address real quick the dumpster issue. We do intend fully to screen the dumpsters in full compliance with the code. The only reason why that hasn't been done yet to date is we have to figure out what standards apply, because right now it's zoned R residential 2.5. We're asking for DX, and kind of the setbacks, the distances, all of that changes, the height requirement changes. And so we would need to get the zoning piece figured out. And then our intent is to screen the dumpsters as shown on the plans in that parking lot. And we're actually going from 3 separate dumpsters into 2. And then again, I think we've worked out all of the requirements and details if this is approved today or eventually. Next slide, please. This is a view looking southwest along Bellevue into the parking lot. Next slide. We've touched on the history a little bit, but again, this was built between the years 1919 to 1923 for a paper cardboard manufacturing company. Again, about 88,000 square feet. KCMO adopted its first zoning code in 1923. The parking lot received the variance in 1996 for setbacks, and then the building, as Genevieve pointed out, actually received the CLNU in 1973. In terms of the history that Mr. Enders was asking about, we again tried to find the full history of when this paper company went out of business. We think it was sometime in the 80s or the 90s. And then the current ownership purchased this property in 2009. And so there is kind of a gap in our understanding of what had all transpired. But since that time, there's 2 tenants that have been in this building for at least 10 years. And then there's another tenant that has been there for about 2 years. And then it has subleased a portion of their space. So the current uses have been there for almost a decade, with the exception of one of the contractors. Next slide, please. In terms of the uses, you know, I wouldn't say this is not like a full, light manufacturing type facility. We do have a similar use to what was originally approved or used back in the 1920s. We have a cardboard, like manufacturing and assembly company that does a lot of business with Hallmark. If you go to any of the displays that you'll see, like around Christmas time, those little pre-wrap packages that my kids always try to open, those are kind of assembled here at this site and then shipped out. And then we do have 2 construction contractors that use this building primarily for equipment storage. That there are about 50 employees in total across the 4 different tenants, but not all 50 are there the full day. Most of the construction contractors, they load up their trucks, their trailers. We're talking about small type of equipment like mini excavators, some skid steers, put them on a trailer, and then they go off site to their job sites and they're gone all day. The employees park their trucks or their cars in the parking lot. They're there in the morning. They come back in the evening. The only uses that remain during the day would be the limited manufacturing of the cardboard, and then the subtenant who does woodworking. So he's a cabinet maker, and he's there with his 3 employees, and they work on making cabinets. So that kind of covers the current uses of the property. Next slide, please. So the reason for our request today is, really we want to kind of clean up what we perceive to be kind of the original sin of this property, right? It was always been non-conforming. It's always been, kind of part of this mixed-use neighborhood. And we want to bring it into compliance with the city's zoning code, but we want to put some parameters and restrictions around the types of uses that could, eventually develop in the future. And so DX zoning was a staff recommended zoning classification for this that we spent some time reviewing, and we think that use, that zoning classification would allow reasonable use of the property. We looked at what it would take to potentially convert an 80,000 square foot, 120-year-old warehouse into residential, and it would be cost prohibitive. And we're trying to avoid a situation where this building is unused or becomes vacant, becomes blighted, becomes an attractive nuisance for vandalism and for stuff of that nature. And so we think that there is a path forward where we can address some of the concerns that the neighbors have, put reasonable parameters around our use of the property, and then work together to make sure that going forward that there is better harmony with the residential uses nearby. Let's see. I do want to point out, I think the DX zoning balances, again, those interests with the mixed-use neighborhood, and it's not wholly inconsistent with nearby zoning. We have a B1 zoning for the Fox 4 news station that is about 250 feet from our property. We have a B3-2 zoning that's south on the site. And then we have some M1-5 manufacturing kind of to the west of the site, about 825 feet. We get into heavier manufacturing when you get closer to Southwest Boulevard, and that's only a couple blocks away from our site. So if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see on this slide the character of the area. I've highlighted in yellow those 3 zoning classifications. So in blue, you can see the subject property outlined in blue. And then from there, you can see the B1-1, the M1-5, and the B3-2 zoning. That's not too far from us. And then I do want to point out too that our 2.5 is pretty restrictive. We have more intense residential uses nearby, that allow apartments, for example, in R 1.5. And so if at some point in time it ever is practical to convert this building, the structure, into a residential type uses, at a minimum, it would have to be rezoned to an R 1.5 to allow more than 8 units, which is what R 2.5 currently allows. If you go to the next slide, please. I do want to point out too that construction contractor uses is not necessarily unique to this neighborhood. Located again about between like 500 and 800 feet away, we have 2 other construction contractors. One of them does windows and siding. Another one is like another type of construction contractor. Similar type buildings, similar type uses used for equipment storage. And then on the south side there, you see, again, some M1-5 manufacturing, light manufacturing, which is not too far away from us along 30th Street. The next slide, again, is just the future land use map. I think we've already seen this, but yeah, we're essentially requesting that the future land use map be amended to allow for this downtown mixed use. Next slide. In terms of public engagement, there are at least 2 registered neighborhood homes or neighborhood groups for this property. And so under the code, we reached out to both of them and offered to host our own meeting. And we scheduled a Zoom meeting for participants to attend. After that letter went out, we received a request from one of the groups to come to one of their meetings, and we did. And so we've had at least 2 neighborhood-specific meetings. And then on top of that, we worked very closely with a resident who lives right across the street. So the closest resident, we had a separate meeting with them to try to address some of their concerns and to come up with a framework. And that meeting kind of resulted in a list of asks that they have. And we came up with our kind of responses to those asks. And I think we're going to address that on the next slide. So, what we talked about is really how do we create more harmony in the neighborhood? And so, these are things where we have points of agreement. All business activity to occur indoors. So there won't be any outside storage of trailers or equipment, no outside storage of dumpsters other than, the business type dumpsters that will be screened. There will be no truck staging on the streets, no blocking of Bellevue by vehicles, no trash service before 8 a.m. On that topic, this is a commercial property, and when you enter into an agreement with a trash service company for commercial property, they typically come in the middle of the night. You'll hear trash trucks doing the commercial, and then they handle the residential during the day. We actually switched trash service providers to try to get them onto a daylight schedule, and then I think we worked through some issues with that. But the plan is for all of the trash dumpsters to be unloaded during the day and not in the middle of the night. Another point of agreement is the maintenance of the properties to be maintained clean. There was a trash or debris pile that had kind of accumulated and grown. We were cited for that, and we've cleaned it up. We will continue to work on keeping that site picked up and clean. One of the requests was to do, again, some landscaping on the north side of the parking lot. We've agreed to that. We're also willing to add some, there's extensive vegetation currently, but we want to clean up any poison ivy that may exist in the alley to the west and along that property line, and then add some screening, so some evergreens, some trees that will allow some permanent coverage and separation for the neighbors. And again, we'll screen the parking lots along West 30th. And then there was another request not to rezone the parking lot into the DX classification. But that was actually a request of staff to have the parking lots meet the same zoning as the property itself. We do need parking for the employees that show up. We don't want to be parking on the street. That would just add to conflicts on the neighborhood. So that parking lot does serve a purpose, and it's our intent to continue to use it as a parking lot. But we think that, again, the DX zoning classification would still work to prohibit any more intensive use from ever being developed on the parking lot. Again, we have no plans to develop the parking lot and anything else, but if someone were to come along, 20, 30 years from now with the aim to change that, they would have to, again, come back to the city and go through a development approval process, potentially a special use permit process. So there are guardrails into what that parking lot could be in the future. Next slide, please.
Just real quick, is there a site plan? I mean, showing, wasn't one in the packet. Is there a site plan or?
There's a site plan and the special use permit staff report, at least
Yeah.
there should be.
Piece of the, okay.
Because there's two staff reports. There's the rezoning and area plan amendment and the special use permit one,
Okay.
1.3.
All right. So okay, on this slide, there were a few items that we just couldn't come to agreement on. There are certain requirements for these types of uses that we just couldn't meet the neighbors all the way on. They said they wanted no semi-truck traffics or no box trucks at all. We do have really steep bays. If you look at the photos, and we'll address them again later, but we do have loading docks where you can back trucks into. There is a need for some of these tenants, especially like the wood maker, to get cabinets in and out, to receive the shipments for the limited manufacturing that comes in for the cardboard manufacturer. And so there are certain requirements, but the frequency of these can be limited. We kind of polled our tenants to see what their requirements were in terms of shipping and receiving. The construction contractors rarely receive very many shipments. Most of the materials that they need for their job sites are going to be delivered to the job site. There are occasional deliveries that they get, but they said it was about maybe 5 or 6 times a month for certain materials that they need for a job site, but pretty infrequent, and they usually come on a box truck. The cardboard manufacturer does have daily shipments that are outbound that are picked up by UPS and FedEx. So those are your standard UPS, FedEx box trucks. And then they do have some less than truckload semi trucks that come in for deliveries, kind of on an as needed basis. And then so I think that covers all of the tenants. So the two construction contractors, the cardboard manufacturer, and the cabinet maker. All right, so the truck traffic is something, though, that we also think that there is a proposal that we could work with the neighbors. Maybe we put in as a designated route for the trucks that is minimally impactful to the neighborhood. We would propose that they come in off of 31st Street. 31st Street is on the major street plan for like large industrial type trucks. It serves the underground on the south side of 31st Street, where there is a lot of truck traffic. And so if they come in along 31st, they can come up, I think is it Jarbo, and then come over to 30th and then up Bellevue. And so they're just kind of zigzagging a little bit through the neighborhood. But we can make sure that we route trucks on that designated path so that they're not driving through the rest of the neighborhood. And that would be our proposal, that we can add a condition to the SUP if that's agreeable to the commission. And then the other request is that we limit all operations at that site from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. We can agree to limiting all outdoor activity, including the loading and unloading of equipment between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 a.m. But a lot of these construction guys, they like to get out and they want to hit the ground running early. And so there might be, vehicles that are pulling into the parking lot, at 7 in the morning, and maybe they're doing what they need to do inside the building, all activity inside. And then at 8 a.m., they can open up the doors and load their vehicles. So those are the points of disagreement that remain. Next slide, please. So again, we want to limit the congregation of employees to the extent that we have, the 40 or so construction employees that show up. We're going to try to get them out of their vehicles inside the building. So we're not congregating outside. No routine street parking. They're going to park in the parking lot. We will limit deliveries between certain hours. And we are going to have increased monitoring of tenants to try to make sure that they understand all of the obligations that they have if they want to continue to operate here. They understand now that with this special use permit, that at any point in time, if there is a violation of the special use permit and these conditions, we can have a hearing on revoking the SUP, and then they lose the use of the building. And they understand that, and they understand the framework. And so I think that what we hope that everyone here sees today is that there will be a change in what has transpired over the last couple of years. And again, we're going to continue to maintain the property in accordance with city code. All right, next slide, please. So there were 3 complaints that we were cited for. One was a noise complaint, and that was inspected by city inspector. They came out, and in their official city report, they noted that a lot of the noise that they observed was coming from new construction of the Bellevue townhomes that sits immediately to the north of our site. That's not to say that we don't create noise. We do when we are loading and unloading vehicles. Certainly, there's some noise associated with that, but that's just what the city report said. Other violations that have been cited for would be the outdoor storage of vehicles and equipment. That's all been cleaned up. And then the last remaining one, again, is the dumpster screening, which we're waiting to do once we have some certainty in terms of what's going to be required. Next slide, please. So these are photos that existed that triggered the inspections. You can see that debris pile. You can see the semi-truck trailers. Go to the next slide. This photo was taken March 24th. You can see the debris pile was picked up. The semi-truck trailer and outdoor storage was removed. Next slide, please. And again, this is more recent. This was taken as of June 1st. Next slide. This one was also taken June 1st. And then the next one, also June 1st. To the chair's point, the next slide is our site plan. So again, you can see one of the comments that Genevieve had is the removal of the gravel prior to BZA. We're fine with that. We will restore whatever gravel that may exist on that northern portion of the parking lot back to earth, and then put some landscaping in on that north side. And then the only really new item that we're talking about here is adding that screen, the screening for the dumpsters. Is that my time? All right. I think I only have, we can skip to the next one, and that is my request, is that per staff's recommendation, that CPC also recommend approval of these 3 items. With that, I'll open myself up for any questions for me or the property owner.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to the applicant?
What was the storage of semi trailers and when did that stop?
Yeah, please speak in the microphone.
It was really just semi-trailers that weren't being used and they were just being stored there. And it stopped after we received the violation notice. We had them removed.
Gotcha. And was that like tied to an existing tenant or just your own personal use, or?
It was
for
just
the-
our own personal trailers that we had that we weren't really using.
Gotcha. No one has any questions?
I
Wow.
mean, well, actually go back to staff, one question. So I just want to be clear on what was on the letter of nonconformance that was supposed to be, what was this allowed to be used as?
It said very specifically manufacturing of cartons and paper boxes.
Okay, so it had no indication on what that changed for deliveries or anything like that? Or what were, I guess, at that point, what was allowable for that?
So I would even go as far to say as the letter was very specific in saying manufacturing of that specific product. In our current zoning code, I would liken that use to the limited manufacturing, which is what is in the special use permit now. Let's say the products changed ever so slightly, like there is maybe some small degree of flexibility that could have been applied with the certificate of legal nonconforming use. But since the use changed entirely, then that became void.
Understood. Thank you.
I'm just curious, some of the items you mentioned in your presentation, Mr. Maddox, are you willing to put those on the site plan as to the things you agreed upon with the property owners?
Yeah.
To make sure that's there?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't specifically, what are we not?
Yeah, it's
have
like
on
those
there?
6, 8 items that
Yeah.
were on your one slide.
We have no problem putting that as a condition to the site plan and then also as part of the special use permit as a condition.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at, is the site plan of the special use permit. So that's noted on there as part of the special use permit. Maybe a sign in the parking lot that's no trailer parking or something like that. So get that limited. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Padilla, anything?
It's not a question, just a comment. I think I want to hear more because I'm still on the fence of, like, I
Okay.
want to understand better for stuff. Why is the recommendation to approval when we are also saying that, it's not compatible with the plan in the long term?
Yep.
I've got a question for the applicant. So you had said that they've been acting for a decade in addition to what was already non-conforming and on top of the mail or the folding stuff, all of these other uses, how long have they been there?
Well, we purchased the building in 2009. I don't know the exact year and the tenants here, but somehow I think Rudy, the owner of Premier Packaging, I don't know if he was driving by and ran into my brother, but somehow they started talking about the building and if we had space that he could lease, and so we said yes, and so he's been there, I don't want to say since 2009, but pretty early since we've owned the building. So he's probably been there over 15 years.
No, but not the stuff outside of the packaging, the contractors, the cabinets, all of that. When was that added to the building?
most recent, do these have the dates on here that they moved in?
We
I'll
gave
let-
the tenants a questionnaire to fill out, kind of, what are your operations? What are your plans? What are your hours? How long have you been here? And the responses that we got back from them is that one of the foundation repair contractor has been there for 10 years. Premier Packaging has been there for at least 10 years.
This is from the tenants? Shouldn't you guys have that because you've owned the building since 2009?
I haven't dug into exactly what they do every single day. So no, I'm not that familiar with what they're doing every day.
We wanted a comprehensive list. So it was a questionnaire that had not just, what was the date of your lease, that type of thing. I mean, yes, we do have copies of the leases if that's your question. So they have been there. And then the newest tenant.
What's the oldest one outside of the one that was
Premier Packaging, and he's
outside of Premier Packaging? Because that's,
I would say, Allied Foundation, and I don't know offhand exactly how long they've been there, but over 5 or 6 years. They're on a month-to-month lease now, but they've gone through multiple leases that have expired. So,
but you would say probably 6 years at the longest.
yes, but he did get a business license from the city, so it'd be on record with the city when he came and applied for that initial business license.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Couple comments before we head into public testimony. Yeah, I think I think I fully understand the city's recommendation. It's a building that's not suited for what it's currently zoned or the recommended land use. And what's tough is its location in the neighborhood, in that, like, I'm not supportive of having that defined truck route, because I think there's a chance that there's a different truck route that's actually better for that neighborhood, based upon the roads. Wouldn't want to screen the parking, because I think that it's better to have it visible and eyes on the parking lot. But what I'm curious to hear from public testimony is a reaction, not what's happened to date, but based upon the plan as it stands. So based upon what was presented today, what are the things that people feel is still not going far enough, if it's not going far enough? And so whether that's the truck traffic or people aggregating outside, or noise, et cetera, that's, I think, what I'm most interested in, because based upon the building, I can't see personally myself, recommending something that makes the building obsolete. But then again, I'm also curious about if there are other improvements or changes that can be made. You know, if we were reviewing this building under different circumstances, you know, there's no transparency, and there are other ways in which we would want to see different improvements to the building. So as people come and testify, fully understand the history that, and it's valid to explain whatever you want to explain. But what I'm particularly listening for from public testimony is a reaction to what the applicant has presented, so we can get a better understanding of what people feel is reasonable and what's not reasonable.
Okay, good comments. With that, let's open it up for public testimony, beginning with those that are here present first, and then follow by those that are joining us online. So as you come up, please make a line or whatever. And as you get started, state your name and address for the record. So we have that. And then testimony, it is 2 minutes. We do have a timer. So just hopefully we can get everything captured within that short time frame. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Katie Claggett. My family and I live at 2920 Bellevue, directly next door and across the street from this property. I'm speaking on behalf of the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Association today, so I will be taking a little bit more than 2 minutes. First, I want to thank the staff for their efforts on this. I know this has been a little complicated. First, I just want to say this is the first time that we're seeing the owner's updated proposal. I was part of this small group that met with the owner and their attorney in late April to discuss potential, ways to improve the plan. And this is the first that we're seeing this proposal. They've been silent for over the past month. So it's a little hard for me to react to this proposal, given that I've had just a few minutes to digest it. But I will say we don't think it goes far enough. We don't believe that there should be semi-trucks in a residential neighborhood. I also want to say, in response to Commissioner Arkin, your question, what has changed? So in 2022, 2 new tenants moved into the building, the woodworker who has a cabinet shop, and then a commercial construction company. At that time, in 2024. In that time, the intensity of use of the building increased substantially. Previously, there was some outdoor storage. It wasn't great, but it wasn't, it was just kind of an eyesore. But once in 2024, after these tenants moved in, things changed. And the commercial construction tenant in particular started dumping construction debris from outside site projects onto the parking lot. They started storing tons of different equipment, in the parking lot, and started using the bay that's closest to the neighborhood for all of their uses. You can see a variety of photos in Jake Jones's written testimony that lays out all of the different kind of examples of uses, as well as times, dates, that kind of thing. So back to kind of the beginning, I just want to respectfully ask that you deny the area plan amendment, rezoning, and special use permit applications. I understand that this building presents a development challenge, but we think the question before the commission today is not about what uses are most convenient for this building, but instead, how well are the requested land use changes consistent with the city's adopted plans, as well as appropriate for the location? So the property as currently residential low density, the staff report indicates that because downtown mixed use is within 0.1 miles of this property, downtown mixed use would be appropriate for the site. I disagree. Living in the neighborhood, there are blocks of single family residential houses in between this property and that downtown mixed use designation. I'll also note the applicant said the B32 zoning on the south end of the property, that was used as potential justification for the rezoning, but this is a neighbor's yard and garden and has an active spring running through it and will never be developed as commercial. I also just want to note from a land perspective, this is 1.73 acres in the island of a residential neighborhood where the average platted lot size is 3,000 square feet. The staff report also indicated that the DX zoning offers some benefits, including that most uses that may concern neighbors will require a special use permit. While we have focused our testimony on issues about industrial uses, we're also concerned with the DX zoning itself. Even DX uses that do not require special use permit will still have an outsized impact on our infrastructure. I also just want to point out the important tension in the staff recommendation. On one hand, staff concludes that the proposal has low alignment with both the downtown area plan and the KC Spirit Handbook, and that the truck traffic and long-term industrial uses are not compatible with surrounding residential uses. But on the other hand, staff recommends approval of permanent changes to both the area plan and zoning map, and also recommends approval of a 2-year special use permit. I would ask the commission to consider if these industrial uses are incompatible enough to necessitate such a short-term special use permit. Why should the city permanently amend its long-term land use plan today? I'm also concerned about the precedent that these cases would establish. The staff report highlights how over time unlawful uses have been added to the building. The owner is now seeking permanent entitlements. If approval is granted under these circumstances, what message does that send to other property owners operating unlawful uses in the city? Finally, I want to encourage the commission to remember this is not an isolated industrial district. This is a residential neighborhood. We've invested in our homes here. We've worked hard to preserve and improve the area, and we are not asking for special treatment. We are asking that the city's adopted plans be followed and that residential neighborhoods receive the protection and direction that those plans are intended to provide. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that you vote no on these cases. However, if the city is determined to approve these cases, the record demonstrates that unusually strict conditions for the special use permit are necessary because of the site's documented history of operational impacts and code violations. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jake Jones, and I live at 2920 Bellevue Avenue. I want to talk briefly about what it's like to live next door to this property. You can reference my written testimony, as Katie mentioned, in the staff report for images and dates of what this looks like. Semi-trucks, large box trucks, construction vehicles, trailers, and heavy equipment are regularly staged in the parking lot, as well as on Bellevue Avenue and on 30th Street. Trucks block streets during loading operations. Semi-trucks regularly make 4-point turns on our residential streets. One tenant operates a dispatch center for a commercial construction business. Trailers and heavy machinery come and go daily, and activity occurs throughout the day, not just at the beginning and end of the day, and outside normal business hours. These recurring issues have turned our block into the extension of a commercial job site. This case was opened 7 months ago, and outdoor storage and dumping of construction debris have still been occurring on the north end of the building. No pictures presented today show the north end of the building. Dumpsters are emptied still between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. That is why I want to address the special use permit further. The idea behind a special use permit is that conditions can be imposed to mitigate impacts. But the impacts we experience can't be mitigated. For example, a dispatch center requires workers, trucks, trailers, and equipment moving in and out every day. Industrial uses generate truck traffic. These activities are not occasional. They have been fundamental to the operation of these businesses. That is why I do not believe special use permit conditions can solve the compatibility issue. You can prohibit outdoor storage. You can add landscaping, but none of those things change the fact that industrial uses generate operational impacts that are fundamentally incompatible with a residential neighborhood. The staff recognizes this incompatibility in their reports. For all these reasons, I respectfully ask that you deny the special use permit as well as the area plan amendment and rezoning. Thanks for taking these points into consideration.
Thank you. How long have you lived at your property?
Say again?
How long have you lived at your property?
4 years.
4 years? Okay. Genevieve, can you pull up that list that I asked about before, the neighborhood kind of concerns and what all those are? I'm sorry to interrupt the public testimony for a second.
This one?
That one. Yeah, thank you. So no outdoor storage is on that. Okay. All right, who's next?
Hi, I'm Anna Roseborough, president of the Sacred Heart Neighborhood Association. This historic building is used for construction droppings and also uploading and et cetera. This is, we in the neighborhood are single family homes, residential. Majority of us have small siblings, and and the little kids, they wait for their school. They have a school location for school buses to pick up and drop off that area from 25th to 30th of Southwest Boulevard to Broadway. And we just had a year ago about we had a grand opening ribbon cutting for our townhomes right next door to this construction building, and it's we have a school, a middle school about 4 blocks away from this place, is a year-round school, and also we have a spray park. And um, anyway, we suffer for these big, large trucks that goes to our neighborhood. Yes, like he said, our streets are kind of narrow. They are narrow, and we do park both sides of the streets. And most of us don't have driveways. And we do have the line posts that runs from our telephones, our electricity and everything. They're not underground in our neighborhood. And a lot of these trucks, they hit the posts and knock out our electricity or cable, whatever, so forth. And our neighborhood is trying to get no truck signs. We do have some up, but our neighborhood association, we're working on that with the city. We started to put some speed bumps, and with these big trucks, they're ruining my our speed bump, excuse me, but they're scratching them, they're making them go down because the bottom of their trucks, they scrape it. And so I've been working with Councilman Crispin Rhea for our 4th district and Eric Bunch. But anyway, they, because the streets are so narrow, they hit the cars that are in the streets parked, but their mirror and also back of their cars, the bumpers, and they just keep on going. They don't stop, look, see what they hit, or maybe they don't realize what they hit, but that's what we're going through our neighborhood. Anyway, it's right now it's becoming a big mess for our neighborhood. And I'm pretty sure you guys will want that in your neighborhood like that. You guys be complaining too. And I'm glad that you guys are hearing us out for right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Morning.
Good morning. And thank you very much to the commission for being here. I think your service to the community is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. And I just want to be very clear that first of all, my name is Albert Ruiz. I live at 2611 Madison Avenue, right in the heart of the neighborhood. We're catty corner from Sacred Heart Church. But I just want to be perfectly clear that we stand in opposition to this particular request. And I'll give you a little background as to how we're arriving at this, or how I'm arriving at this decision. We were approached by Mr. Abbott, the owner, and his attorneys as a neighborhood association to meet with them so that they could convince us as to why we should support his petition. Thank goodness that there's 2 sides to every story. You were allowed to hear his position, his justification, his story. I also want to be perfectly clear that we are not anti-business. We support businesses, but we are against slumlords. We are against absentee owners of properties. And I think you guys got a pretty clear indication of that when Mr. Abbott couldn't answer about the tenants that are living there or occupying his property. That's what you would call a slumlord, someone that's just there to collect the rent. This is a business for him. In our case, this is where we live. This is where we reside. This is where our families come and go every day, 24 hours a day, rather than Mr. Abbott sitting at his home, the comfort of his home, collecting the rent for poorly managed, poorly owned property that he's unable to answer you who the tenants are, how long they've been there, what kind of activities do they conduct. He's just in it for the money. I'm sure all of you know also of that obnoxious neighbor that feels entitled to do whatever they want with their property when it's impacting everybody's property, your properties, okay? So,
Mr. Luis, your time's already up. So can you get to the point here?
well,
please?
my point is that their failure to take ownership of that property. We met on March 25th, and from the onset of that meeting, it was a total disaster. In fact, we had to conclude the meeting that evening because of their hostility, their lack of respect, and lack of just being responsive to our concerns. They invited us, they scheduled a meeting, and it was a total disaster. It just showed their true colors, and we just don't want to continue in that mode.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Who's next? Anybody else like to speak?
My name's Rudy Ramirez. I reside at 2848 Summit Street, a couple of blocks from this building. And I oppose this due to the fact that, well, I just wrote a few things down. I was talking to my neighbor on 30th, between 30th and 31st Street in Jarbo. And I had stopped and we were talking maybe about 30 minutes, in which time I had witnessed two semi-trucks come by. And she's got a lot of kids, grandkids, school-age kids. Anyway, I asked her about that, and she had mentioned that that's pretty regular. I don't mean to say like every 30 minutes, two trucks are coming by. But when you got kids out there playing in the street because there's nowhere else to play, the yards aren't equipped for the kids to play in because they're so small. And as far as the low-density population, we have a townhomes, which I don't believe their voices are heard, which are 2 blocks away from this place. There's approximately 12 units, and I would imagine on average there's 3 to 4 kids there. These big trucks come up there trying to make that turn. They've damaged the curbs enough they've had to be repaired. I've actually been asked if I know the people that own the cars to have them move so that they can get through there. Well, my response to them is they're at work. Also, I had been blocked by the truck traffic going through the neighborhood. I had to stop, wait for the truck to be unloaded when there's docks available. There's trucks in the middle of the street. As a matter of fact, I had seen the owner here, walk by nonchalant. Not that it's any, real concerned about what I'm doing, but it's an inconvenience, especially when there's docks that they can use. I've also been blocked there where it's been so long, I had to back my vehicle up, turn around and go. It's kind of ridiculous when people don't care about one another, and particularly about safety for these kids. Those units, as I said, they probably have 3 or 4 kids on average that are playing. And you got these big trucks coming by, not to mention the inclement weather that will pose another threat for these kids going to school during the wintertime. Also summertime, they're out playing. This is just it's a very dangerous situation which is being created in a residential neighborhood when those 9 townhomes, which you have, they look like they're about at completion. If you figure there's gonna be an average of 4 people, 2 kids, 2 parents, this is on the same block.
Yeah, Mr. Ramirez,
Yeah.
time's up already. It goes quick.
I appreciate your.
Yeah, thank
time.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
My name is Rudy Moreno. I'm a owner of Premier Packaging, and we have the location on the second floor, and we do utilize some of the semi trucks that we've had. Now, we've been there 14 years, about 14 years. We try to be a good neighbor. We try to talk to the neighbors. We frankly had a good relationship with the landscaper there, our late landscaper, and also the police officer that lived there too. We provided, in some cases, video for folks that had lost a truck, and we provided that video. We unfortunately weren't able to help everyone with the video, but we've been with the police officers from the local DEA, where they would, they'd park on our dock and look over on situations that are going on. So we've tried to be a good neighbor in that area. I'm a little surprised by some of the concerns, but we are the semi truck people that do that. We provide fulfillment. We provide what I would call contract packaging, which we're providing product and sending it out. It is not an everyday thing with semi trucks and stuff like that, but we do indeed do that. We've been, that location for us is a strategic location. It's one that provides us with access to the city. We do indeed ask folks to come come off of Jarbo, turn on 30th, and frankly, I'm out there watching them too to make sure that nothing is affected. So we've been operating. I'm a little surprised that we're here because we have operated for about 14 years. I will tell you that whenever I've talked to the planning folks, they have said, hey, well, you were talking about a grandfathered location. That's always the term that I've always heard. It's a grandfathered location. And so we're here now, and obviously I am supportive of this. We will try to continue to be a good neighbor. We will try to work with the folks. Frankly, I've celebrated with a number of the neighbors around the Christmas time and some of the products that we utilize as well. So I've tried to conduct myself in a way that is harmonizing. So I am indeed supportive of this proposal to move forward with.
Before you sit down, I have a quick question for you. So you've been there for 14 years. Have your operations changed in those 14 years?
Actually, I mean, to be quite honest, it's a strategic location. Since COVID, my business has gone down. It's a significant decrease. And so for you all to vote against this, I'm going to have to find a new location. And frankly, it makes me want to evaluate whether or not I can continue in business, to be quite honest.
That's not what I was asking is so you said so one of the comments from the neighbors was that in the last, I believe, 4 years, 5 years, that it had been more significant when the other two tenants came in. So at least from one of the neighbors, it didn't sound like it was solely your activity. So what I'm trying to find out is, was there an increase in your semi trucks in 2001 to now?
We haven't been there that long, but the number of trucks has.
Sorry, 2020 and 2021. Sorry.
I would just tell you that the number of shipments, the number of trucks, the semis especially, has gone down considerably.
Okay,
I think
that's it.
probably
Yeah, that
about
was my only
20%
question.
of what it used to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tom Stiller. My address is 115 West 18th. I'm here in support of the applications. I've read through the staff reports. I believe that they have accurately identified and addressed the issues in a thorough and thoughtful manner. One thing I'd like to add a little more detail to is the CLNUs. One of the issues with those is banks are often reluctant to provide financing. Owners, tenants alike, are more reluctant to provide maintenance and improvements because of the nature of the CLNU, which can be removed for a handful of different reasons and render the building unoccupiable. The other aspect of the applications that I think is an improvement over things in the distant past now is the SUPs, the special use permits, that provides City Plan Commission, Board of Zoning Adjustment, and public to police all of the terms and conditions that are imposed if indeed the property is rezoned. So with that, I would hope and request that the commission, approve the applications all under the umbrella of the SUP and all the terms and conditions that will be imposed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, what brought you in today? What's your interest in the property?
Being active in the urban core for many, many years. And this, I think, is a particularly good example of old zoning practices versus newer zoning practices. In the past, we were very much looking to segregated and isolated uses. Everything very separate, got an urban sprawl across our nation. The urban cores have declined. That theory has been reversed, and now we're looking more toward a much more mixed use, especially in the urban core of cities. And I think this is a good example of that type of newer contemporary thinking, especially with an SUP, because policing is difficult.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, is anybody online?
We have no hands raised online.
Nobody online either. Okay, so
Oh,
we'll go ahead and,
There's now a hand raised. Jonathan Torres, I'll promote you to panelist. If there's anyone else online who would like to speak on this case, please raise your hand. Mr. Torres is online. If you'd turn on your camera and microphone, please.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yeah.
All right, great. Yes, my name is Jonathan Torres. I am not living in the neighborhood, but I do own a couple of vacant lots that I tend to. I've owned these lots for around 10 years now. I'm in the neighborhood quite often. I know the neighbors closely. They know me. I have aspirations to one day live in this neighborhood, build a house. I think the neighborhood closely consists of single family residences. So just one thing to call out here, the site location, it's set back. And to imagine persistent truck movement, large semis negotiating those turns, especially Jarbo from 30th Street going north, it goes downhill. There have been quite a few accidents when it gets icy. And just wanted to call that out. One other thing that I want to mention, just to the broader group here, is that neighborhoods don't deteriorate overnight. So a lot of the neighbors that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, they talk about what this neighborhood used to look like back in the day. One big blow to the neighborhood was when the viaduct or I-35 was built, and it isolated this portion of the West Side neighborhood from the others. This portion of the West Side South has quite a few vacant lots, and it's not conducive to building single family residences into the future. So just one thing for the panel here to consider. Additionally, this will be another big blow to the neighborhood. Nobody wants to live next to an industrial or manufacturing building where there's persistent movement of these large semis. Not to mention, there's a bunch of families with kids that are ever present playing around the sidewalks and in the streets. And that's a massive, that's a massive consideration for the panel here. So I'm here to vote against this case.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
There are no other hands raised online.
Okay, let's go ahead and close public testimony then. And we'll come back to the applicant with comments received. And if you'd like to address things that were brought up during their discussions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Chairman Crow. I think one of the things that struck me, and I think, the applicant, when we had our neighborhood meeting, is that there is a rich history in the West Side. We understand that there are people that are third generation owners. This has been their community for a long time. And a lot of the grievances that were raised in that meeting that happened, I think it was like a 2.5-hour meeting, really predate our ownership of the property. It involves areas outside of this specific property. There were mentions of other trucking companies that are closer to Southwest, other truck traffic, other inconsistencies or incompatibilities elsewhere within the neighborhood. And, my takeaway from that meeting was that, clearly there are certain uses that we do, that we have, that were valid complaints, valid reasons to be cited by the city, and things that we are actively working on fixing. And so, I felt like we were taking arrows in certain ways for a lot of the other uses from other properties that were nearby. We can't speak to all of them, but what we can do is look at what we can do better, what can we do going forward. And so working closely then with a smaller subset, a smaller group of that original neighborhood meeting to those that are most affected by our operations here at this site, coming up with a plan of operations that we feel will address the issues that were most recent, the issues that were mostly cited with the loading and the unloading, the outdoor storage were within the last 2.5 years as a result of one specific tenant. That tenant is now fully aware of that they can't just use this property however they'd like, that they need to use this property responsibly, that they need to be a good neighbor. And I think that that's something that Mark, too, was working on with the tenants to make sure that they all understand what these obligations are going forward. This special use permit process, this rezoning, would allow us to continue to have the 10, 15, 14-year relationships that these businesses have had in the community, to continue to operate, to put productive use to the property, so that going forward, then perhaps we can minimize these potential issues and conflicts. So thank you.
Have you had any discussions with city staff, like Public Works, on the truck going through this area to get to the facility?
We have not, no.
Okay. Kind of curious if somebody from Public Works is available just to kind of weigh in on their thoughts on this. Mr. Bassanetto available?
Oh, we don't have anyone from Public Works.
Okay.
Question, the townhomes that are connected to this, is that DX -2?
You are.
To the
Yeah,
north
it's just UR.
is zoned UR. There's another set of apartment buildings to the east, and that's zoned R 1.5.
The ones that are UR are the ones that are under construction.
Yeah, I saw like the newer, yeah.
While we're potentially waiting on Public Works, oh, you good?
No, I have some other questions, but I'll let you go.
Couple questions for staff. With the two examples, since we have specific examples, the cabinet maker and then also the cardboard packaging business, what would the threshold be between artisan work and light manufacturing work? Because it feels to me as though I've certainly been in cabinet shops where it could be considered artisan, and I'm not sure if it depends upon square footage or the amount of deliveries or what might constitute light manufacturing.
Yes, I'm just pulling up the
Okay.
definition.
While you're doing that, because I'd like to make it more restrictive than it is. It's just such a tough fit in that it's maybe not a fit for the neighborhood. But again, fully understand this building. We often like to think about the opportunity cost of, we can't just determine that a building cannot have any use in the future, or that the current use, if it's no longer allowed, there's no guarantee of something better occurring afterwards. And there's also no guarantee that said building owner might decide, you know what, I'll sell this for either a profit or a loss and let someone else take their run at making it different. So certainly need to consider the opportunity cost of what else might happen. I like the idea of being more restrictive than what is currently in here. It does feel as though the vast majority of issues have been addressed. I totally feel that there's not a lot of trust in the relationship between the neighborhood and the owner. And so therefore, people aren't willing to say, let's just extend this for 2 more years. And so I'm curious about the uses in that. I'd love to make it more restrictive or get rid of the special use permit to restrict it to just what would be allowed by right in DX2, which would answer a lot of, or would be responsive to a lot of the neighbors' concerns.
And would we not be able to go to UR and allow most of those uses? I mean,
They're not eligible for a UR zoning.
But up the street is?
UR requires that there be some kind of economic development incentive attached to the property. They're not eligible for a UR zoning.
So that, again, that's like a gap in zoning code, because UR will allow.
Yeah, but that's a whole different
I know.
process
Yep.
than
Okay.
what we're going through here. So
Yes, there are certain eligibility criteria for our UR and MPD plan districts. To answer Commissioner Ender's question, the artisan manufacturing has very specific use standards, and it depends on the zoning district that it's located in. But to give you an example, in the DX zoning district, one of the standards is at least 10% of the total revenue generated at the business shall be attributed to on-site retail sales. In such cases, no more than 90% of the total revenue generated shall be attributed to online sales. So it's related to the percentage of space and sales, or space, because then there's another section that says like square footage. So yes, it's based on both percentage of sales at the location and the space essentially for the manufacturing area versus like a retail or like a, you know, brewery versus.
Sure. Yeah, so of course I'm extremely sympathetic to people who've been operating out of that space for a while. And as natural turnover will occur, you know, I'm not interested in seeing more uses that would be allowed by this SUP that would then perpetuate the traffic and the what we're trying to avoid. And so that's what's difficult, is trying to allow businesses to you know, transition in some way. But yeah, this traffic is better suited for Southwest Boulevard. It's just not well suited for this neighborhood.
Anybody else have any comments? Okay. I'll take a motion, please.
I just wanted to say that I think that it's going to be kind of hard to mitigate. Like the construction company, they're going to start out early in the morning. They're going to have to be able to get their equipment and stuff. I don't think that if we put the SUP in place or anything, it's going to be kind of hard to mitigate that. So I'm recommending denial.
I have yeah. So I hear the testimony of both sides, and I understand the impact that it could have in the business in this building. But I think looking at the long-term vision for the neighborhood, I don't think, to me, this proposal helps the neighborhood. So I understand there are other inconsistencies in the area, but I don't think that means that we should continue creating more, right? So in this case, I see this, you know, an opportunity for start moving that neighborhood in the right direction. So I think as of right now, I'm on the denial as well.
So, I mean, my question for staff and the applicant and other commissioners is, you know, as the applicant outlined in the testimony or in the presentation, current zoning is not appropriate for this. You know, it shouldn't be R2-R2.5. So, you know, I do think that the applicant is correctly here today trying to fix this in some way. I don't know if it makes sense to draw a line between the rezoning to DX2 and the special use permit, which is, again, allowing the heavier uses. I guess I'll start with staff. Is staff supportive of still, if the commission doesn't support an SUP, of switching to DX2, rezoning to DX2?
I would say the commission, you all can make whatever recommendation you feel fit, and we will proceed to the next steps. If that means going to council, if that means going to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, with whatever you recommend.
Yeah, I mean, my dream scenario would be it's more restrictive, it's responsive to the neighborhood, it's the right thing for the neighborhood, it's reducing traffic, but allows the owner and applicant to work with the tenants to figure out, is this going to be a fit or not? Maybe it's not for some people. Certainly, as there's natural turnover in the building, it'll allow for the right amount of communication about what's allowed in that space, but hopefully wouldn't be so disruptive as to render the whole building obsolete and vacant.
Unusable. Yeah, that was my biggest concern. I'm kind of in support. I'm in the same boat as you.
So what's the difference between the SUP and the legal non-conforming?
So when rezone, that legal non-conforming disappears, right?
I mean, as of right now, the certificate of legal nonconforming is already void based on the use of the property.
Gotcha. Okay, so the DX2 2 basically would allow some of these uses, but not allow the special use for the other stuff, the heavier.
Well, yeah, so the DX2 has a lot of things allowed by right, and it has a lot of things that can be allowed through a special use permit. The applicant could absolutely come back in 6 months and say, you know, we're trying to figure this out. We're submitting an SUP again for this specific use because this specific business has the support of the neighborhood and the use is, you know, non-disruptive, et cetera. And there could be another tenant in the future that would also have a separate use needed that also shows up as permitted under a special use permit. So a special use permit could always be pursued again in the future. DX2, based upon what I'm hearing from the staff, feels like the right fit because again, this building should not be zoned R2.5.
I mean, currently
it does not work.
Currently the building is not.
Correct.
Yeah, and so that, I mean, that's not the burden of the owner that was built before them. So that's, I mean, that's, I think bringing the building up to correct zoning makes sense, which is the DX2. But then the SUP, I think, needs way more information from the, you know, the owner and a better relationship with the neighborhood to get the special use, is my opinion.
Does the applicant want to weigh in on at all on the potential of that direction?
I won't speak for Mark, but I'll buy him a couple minutes to formulate a response. But I have had conversations with him about, you know, what would be a reasonable outcome, what would be something that we can live with, playing through different scenarios. We are in full agreement that R2.5 is just not appropriate. I mean, we don't think it's running the numbers, it's financially even justifiable to sprinkler and fit out this building to even make it R1.5 or, you know, apartment complex or condos. And so residential uses, and you know, we saw testimony from the neighbors that even that sort of residential intensity was not necessarily desired. They want single family homes. But, you know, this building, we would like to see it put to some sort of productive use to contribute something to the neighborhood. And that zoning to DX would allow certain uses by right. We've gone through what some of, you know, the potential issues could be with that. But I think that there's a lot of protection in the zoning code with the special use permit process, so that to Commissioner Ender's point, in the future, if there is a different tenant, different use that does require a special use permit, that we come back, we build that relationship with the neighbors, and then perhaps, you know, things are looking different for that special use permit. But, you know, to deny everything across the board today would mean that this building is essentially shut down. It is vacant, everyone's kicked out, and it will remain so until such time that we can come forward with a new rezoning application or a new development plan. And so, you know, we would encourage you to exercise whatever discretion that you have so that we can avoid that from happening. But then also, you know, perhaps play the role of Solomon and find a way to split the difference here between our interests and the neighbor's interests, because there is a world in which those interests are aligned. And we thought that we were, you know, doing our part in looking forward, and we recognize that there were errors in the past. But we do want to work on finding the best possible solution going forward. Do you have a comment on DX zoning if they were to separate that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a benefit for the building for sure. I don't quite.
Can you
fully
speak into the microphone, please?
Yeah, I think that would be a benefit for the building. I'm not clear on if the SUPs aren't approved, does that still mean all the tenants can't operate any longer?
The indoor storage would not be prohibited without a special use permit, so no construction contractors. And your limited manufacturing for the for the cardboard would also need a special use permit. So without that special use permit, yes, the tenants go out, but you still have a properly zoned building and you can find new tenants.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that works for me, but for the tenants that I mean, ultimately we're walking away that they would all still have to move out if the SUP is not approved, just so I'm all on the same page with everybody. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to have staff work with you all to figure out with the packaging tenant if that actually can find if there's another way to make that work, because to me it's a pretty big stretch from what I would consider light manufacturing in other respects. And so perhaps there's a way that there's still a path forward with the work that they do.
On that note, actually, I'm in favor of the DX zoning, so I'm good there. It's just that the other conditions with the SUP.
So question, how long has this been unconforming, or how long has this been non-conforming, like these businesses running non-conforming?
Well, it depends on when these other tenants moved in, which seems we're a little bit unclear on when that happened, but
So
and
so
we're
what I'm
gonna-
saying, what I'm saying is those businesses are not running in compliance anyway right now.
with zoning.
Right. So if we, I'm trying to do this in my head here. If we approve the DX2 zoning, can we continue the SUP to see if there's a conversation that can happen with the neighborhood and owner to see if there can be a real agreement come to, right? That way they're not waiting another, what is it, 6 months or a year to reapply for an SUP.
That's a rezoning. That's not on the
Oh,
SUP.
so the SUP, they can reapply. Oh, so then we can just deny the SUP or recommend denial. Just to be clear, by the way, we are recommending body. So we recommend approval, denial. It will go to council one way or the other.
The SUP does.
Yes. Yeah, the SUP, sorry, to BZA. Apologize. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure
I kind of
out.
like that idea, having the SUP, like some more time on that.
Well,
know,
I mean, I
working-
think, like they said, we can deny that and then they
Yeah.
can come and apply again when they
That's
have
true.
more information.
Kind of want Public Works to be calling on that too, because those streets are super now.
If I might ask a question, and maybe this is not the right, since we're in CPC, there are companion appeals to the zoning violations that have been continued multiple times at the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And so we were waiting to see the outcome today of your recommendation on whether or not to dismiss those. Does that need to be, that's more of just like a logistical thing. But in the case that the special use permit is denied or continued, does that change our course on any of that?
No, the disposition of those is up to the BZA.
Okay.
And or the applicant.
Right. So yeah, since there's appeals, that kind of halted
Yeah.
Terry,
everything.
do you want to weigh in on
That's
this?
not at the CPC.
I'm letting all of you, I want to hear your opinions first because I've got mine. I don't want to.
I think I gave mine pretty well.
So this is one of those challenging projects where it's, to me, this building has been in since even before I was born. So, and it's served as a nice neighborhood manufacturing, a place to go to work, over the years. Times have changed in what is in and out of the facility. And I fully agree, it's not zoned properly. It was zoned as the building was being constructed way back in the day. So I think at the minimum, the zoning needs to be appropriated with the actual use of the facility. Because these businesses have been there for 14 plus years, I don't have an issue with the special use permit. I do have an issue with the truck traffic. I don't like that in this area. I don't think it's appropriate. The streets aren't designed for that. The turning radiuses aren't there. It's a neighborhood. Heavy semi trucks, and you can see pictures of going through Google Maps, trailers parked on the site, in the parking lot. It's just not, that's not what it's intended for in this area. It's a smaller manufacturing, smaller type of vehicle to move goods and services in and out. Maybe there's a intermediate place that material can be taken to put on a truck, but it doesn't belong here. So that's a piece I have an issue with, is approving it to allow that. I think having the conditions that are stated, the agreements that were talked through with the neighborhoods, added to the face of the plan, that will certainly help just to kind of keep track of, things we can have and cannot have in this neighborhood. I think that's appropriate in this. And so, with that, I know it's been a very difficult process and project for staff as well as the neighborhoods and how to compromise here, but it seems like there's can't get everything, unfortunately, but I think there's been enough that I would side with the city, the staff. I'm ready for a motion. We're at 10:45 already.
So are we voting on all of them together then? Or are we gonna,
You can, however you want to do it, you can do one at a time if you'd like. Or all together. It's up to you.
Okay, well then, let's start with that. So, Chair Crowell, I move to recommend approval without conditions for 1.1 and approval without conditions for 1.2.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 1.1 and 1.2. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Merkin,
aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Morel. Aye. Padilla.
Okay,
Night.
so that recommendation passes. Oh, sorry, Padilla.
Night.
Okay. So it still passes, 6-1? Okay, what about 1.3?
Yeah, again, with hope that the tenant that's been there longstanding can find a solution by working with the city and the building owner. Hopefully without an SUP, but if an SUP, I think that one of the things that's difficult based upon, I'm guessing that the way the building is laid out is that not all loading docks are made equally. And so, and that some loading docks might not be accessible to everyone. And so therefore, someone made a comment that, trucks block a certain way and they're using one loading dock when they should be using another, because you do have those long runs on either side of the building that in theory could be used. So with understanding that this is not a perfect solution for the applicant, I'm going to go ahead and recommend denial of 1.3 with the hope that y'all can figure something out, and knowing that there's still a path to come back if necessary. But I think that to me feels most responsive to kind of trying to thread the needle between the intended long-range planning for this area and what is right for the neighborhood. So with that, Chair Crowley recommends denial of 1.3.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for denial of 1.3. So your yes vote is you're in favor of that. Your no vote is you're not in favor of that. Just making sure we have that. So Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Merkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
No.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Morel. Aye. Padilla.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion for denial of 1.3 has passed.
Thank you for your time.
It's a recommendation. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We appreciate your testimony. All right, is everybody okay? Do we need a short break? I can tell my coffee is getting low.
Need a quick break.
I'll refill my water, but yeah.
Let's take a 10-minute break if you don't mind. So it's 10:47 on my clock.
10:57.
11 o'clock.
13, right?
11 o'clock, we'll come back. Thank you.
Didn't see a docket on.
Maybe 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I know. Yep. Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay, welcome back to the City Planning Commission. Let's move on to docket item number 2.
Docket item number 2 is case CD CPC 2026-49, a request to approve the designation of Dunford Place at 10804 Grandview Road to the Kansas City Register of Historic Places on about 8 acres generally located on the west side of Grandview Road, approximately 115 feet south of East 107th Terrace. And this presentation is by Randy Greaves, who is our relatively new historic preservation planner in community planning. So welcome to our guest star.
One moment, please. There we go. Yes, I'm Randy Greaves, Historic Preservation Planner with Community Planning. I see I have the wrong date on here. That is my apologies. We are looking at a historic overlay designation for 10804 Grandview Road, also known as the Dunford Place. This is its general location within the city and a closer view with some pictures. The owner of the building is seeking historic designation of this property, which retains significant architectural integrity to convey its significance to Frank Walsh, a prominent legal attorney here in Kansas City. Oversaw cases with a lot of unions, the defense of Jesse James Jr. for a train robbery, and one of his most famous cases would be the defense of Dr. Hyde in the murder of multiple members of the Swope family. It is under criteria B, which is association with individuals significant to history. There is not likely to be an economic impact with this designation. The property owner intends to continue to live in the residence, and the Red Bridge area plan supports the recommendation to designate Dunford Place. The Preservation Commission and staff both recommend approval on this case.
Okay, any questions for city staff? Is this application by the actual owner of the property?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So with that, let's open, is the applicant available? I guess you are the applicant then, aren't you? Is the applicant available or is, you are it?
I do not believe the applicant is here today.
Okay. So with that, let's open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. I will say, reading through the application and all the historical stuff about the applicant themselves or the who used to live there and that kind of thing, it's kind of fascinating stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, so with that, we'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve without conditions docket item 2.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 2. I guess all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
I would have called the roll if you wanted.
How'd that feel?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Against.
I want everybody to state so that it's on record who said what, who voted which way. That's right.
Someone just doesn't say anything.
Okay, so
Okay.
move
Dr.
on to docket item 3, and it looks like we've got a
Okay.
quorum for that one,
Yeah,
and I'll need to
docket item-
recuse.
Docket item number 3 is case CD CPC 2026-16, a request to approve a rezoning for a parcel that is split zoned between R1.5 and B3-2 to an overall B3-2 zoning district on about 10.9 acres, generally located at 5100 Ararat Drive. We do have an established quorum for this case, which includes Commissioners Enders, Forbes, Hossack, Morel, and Padilla. So Commissioner Arkin and Chair Crowell, you get a few minutes off. Our applicant is online. I'll promote him to panelist, and Alec Gustafson is the staff planner for this case.
Good morning, Alec Gustafson, City Planning and Development. Share my screen real quick and we can get this one started. Tim's online?
Yes, he
Okay,
is.
great. So before you use docket item number 3, CDCPC 2026-16, that's Bellow Coast Church rezoning. Site is at 5100 Ararat Drive, just west of 435. You can see the site is split zone between B3-2 and R1.5, with neighborhoods of R7.5 to the northwest and west. And then you have B4-2 and B4-5, along with the continuation of that B3-2 use to the south. This application is simply just the rezoning of the whole parcel from B3-2 to R1.5 and R1.5 to a full parcel of B3-2. There's no area plan amendment here, and there will be a development plan required for the future. Just a little bit of the case/site history. Ordinance number 38328 was signed in June 1970. It was a rezoning from District R1A, which is a one-family dwelling zoning district, and a CP2, which is a planned local district, to a C2 local business, and from an R1A to an R4, which is low apartments. So it was still split zoned even in the 70s. And then in zoning, in 2011, the Zoning and Development Code changed to its current standards. So then we had a zoning compliance case regarding a neighborhood complaint about businesses operating out of the secondary building on the rear of the property. Kind of what began this and what the problem was with that with that neighborhood compliance case was that you can't traverse a residential zoning district to get to a commercial zoning district. So 88.4 2013C, access to off-street parking areas serving non-residential uses may not traverse residentially zoned properties. So due to this section of code, if the applicant were to develop the secondary building into commercial businesses, they would either need this rezoning or another entrance off of Ararat Drive to be able to access through the B3-2 where the commercial uses would be. Even with this rezoning, no matter what, because there would be 2 commercial uses, there will be a development plan required to operate the secondary commercial/principal building on the property. And 88.5.1702F states that development plan review and approval is required whenever multiple principal buildings are proposed to be located on a single lot. So that's all just to say this is just the rezoning, which essentially the rezoning will kind of act as if this rezoning were to be denied, that makes the development plan process a little bit different, just makes their circumstance for the development plan slightly different, versus if it's approved, the development plan, no matter what, is just a little bit simpler as far as site design goes. This is just a view of Bellow Coast Church, formerly the Ararat Shrine from Ararat Drive. View looking east from Ararat Drive, this is the A.B. May distribution center, I believe. It's the B4-2 section of the property across the street. This is a view looking southeast from Ararat Drive at some of those B4-5 and then also B3-2, and then looking northeast from Ararat Drive at the R7.5. Some of the review criteria I wanted to go over has changed since the last time we saw this case. We are looking at the zoning and use of nearby properties. This is going to be the same. It's the zoning surrounding the property. You have a variety of different residential building types, B4-5 and B4-2 surrounding with a mix of commercial uses and building types. Review criteria E is the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted under the existing zoning regulations. Under the current zoning regulations, the use of the second building for commercial uses is already permitted, considering it's in the B3-2 district. However, per 88.420.4D.4, which is our new parking standards, this residentially zoned property may not be traversed to access commercial uses, so kind of what I've discussed earlier. Rezoning this into one continuous B3-2 zoning will create a more suitable site for a future development plan that will be required either way to allow for 2 principal uses on the structure, on 2 principal uses on the subject site. G, the extent to which approving the rezoning will detrimentally affect nearby properties. The rezoning of this subject site to B3-2 is not expected to detrimentally affect nearby properties. Rezoning the site to a full continuous B3-2 is not necessarily changing the second building's already existing B3-2 zoning. It will only extend that B3-2 to the rest of the site. However, staff has been made aware of potential neighborhood concern for the conversion of the second building to commercial uses through a development plan. But depending on the proposed uses, the second structure may affect nearby properties. And then H is the gain, if any, to public health, safety, and welfare due to the denial of the application as compared to the hardship imposed upon the landowner. There's not really any expected gain to the public health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding area if this rezoning were to be denied. The second building can already be used for commercial uses, so the rezoning doesn't inhibit the applicant's ability to use the building as they would like right now. The only thing that inhibits it is that parking section or the traversing of residential. So the development plan is just going to look different regardless. So if the rezoning is denied, the applicant could still utilize the secondary building for commercial uses with the development plan. It's just that the hardship for the applicant would be an attempt to make the plan compliant with all applicable sections of the zoning and development code. So with all that, we are moving forward with a recommendation of approval, and I can answer any other questions you guys may have.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff? As I think back about, what we had stated when we continued this, and I know I reviewed this, but I'm struggling with it right now. So my thought process had been that in essence, it acts like a rezoning because it's been protected by not having any drive access to the road currently. And so therefore we wanted to make sure that one, the use isn't going to be obnoxious to neighbors or surprise anyone. And so in the time that we continued it to now, what are the major changes?
Well, the really the major changes are just that we looked at it and looking at the area plan, it's not really, it's already the future land use is already commercial.
Sure.
We're going to still move forward with an approval on that basis. But what's changed is that they have provided potential uses that they would like to use. However, I left those out simply because those should be discussed in the development plan process rather than the rezoning.
Okay, so then with the development plan, specifics will be addressed at that time.
Yes.
Great. Okay, if there are no further questions for city staff, we will welcome the applicant. Applicant, if you have anything you'd like to add, please do so.
Hey there, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I don't really have anything to add. I appreciate the presentation and appreciate you guys' time.
Great, thanks. And thanks for allowing us to continue this and take an approach that feels better for us. All right, we're now ready for any public testimony. If there's anyone wishing from the public to speak on this, please either raise your hand on Zoom or come forward in person.
There are no hands raised online.
All right. And assuming the applicant doesn't have anything else to add, we will now close all testimony and I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve docket item number 3 without conditions.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve docket item number 3 without conditions. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Docket item number 3 passes. We're now ready for docket item number 4.1.
Oh, here they come. Okay, docket item number 4. 4.1 is case CD CPC 2026-41, a request to approve an amendment to the Greater Downtown Area Plan from residential low density to residential high density for a multi-unit residential building on about 0.147 acres, generally located at 2922 Summit Street. And docket item 4.2 is case CD CPC 2026-39, a request to approve a rezoning without plan from R6 to R1.5 for a multi-unit residential building on about 0.147 acres, generally located at 2922 Summit Street. And Alec Gustafson is the staff planner For this case, I'm going to promote Lisa Guerra to panelist. Is that your applicant? I see B+A architecture.
That's my applicant.
Okay. I will also promote that person to applicant.
Okay, good morning. For the record, Alec Gustafson, City Planning and Development. This is docket item number 4.1 and 4.2, CDCPC 2026, 41 and 39. It's the 2922 Summit Street rezoning and area plan amendment. Our subject site is located just south of West Side, 2292 Summit Street, right next to Southwest Trafficway. As you can see here, it is surrounded by residential zonings. You have R1.5 Penn Valley Park directly across from Southwest Trafficway, across from the site. It abuts Summit Street and then has an R6 zoning and then is surrounded by R1.5 on the rear and the north sides and the east side. This is a rezoning from R6 to R1.5, and also an amendment to the Greater Downtown Area Plan from a future land use of residential low density designation to residential high density. There's a little bit of case site history. A residential building plan was reviewed and applied for on August 15th of 2016, however, has been inactive since. And then similarly, a residential building plan from February 1st, 2017 has also been inactive. The site has currently been unfinished. It's an unfinished concrete structure intended originally for a 4-unit townhome. The applicant is proposing to finish the existing building as a 4-unit structure. R1.5 zoning better accommodates the lot size and the frontage requirements of the parcel. The requested zoning also creates consistency with other adjacent R1.5 properties. The Greater Downtown Area Plan also currently designates the site as residential low density. So amending the area plan to residential high density will allow the lot to be better aligned with the area plan's intent. And seeing as there's other higher density uses surrounding this site, we believe that the area plan amendment and the rezoning makes some sense. And just to show you our conventional development lot and building standards, what we're looking at is the minimum lot area per square feet. So in an R6 zoning district, you have 6,000 square feet would allow you to have 1 unit. And R1.5, you can have a minimum of 1,500 square feet per unit. So the total area of this parcel is 6,421 feet. With an R6 designation, this parcel is only allowed 1 unit. And with the original plans being for 4 units, rezoning to an R1.5 would allow up to 1 unit per every 1,500 square feet, totaling 4 units on the lot. So it's better suited for it. This is just a view looking west from Summit Street at the properties to the north of the subject site. You can see the subject site on the, left side of your screen. And then these are other higher density uses. These are located in the R1.5 zoning. You also have these parcels looking south on Summit Street. This is, I believe, a former church kind of upgrade and south from the subject site. And then looking east from Summit Street, basically standing at the property, you have Southwest Trafficway right-of-way and Penn Valley Park. Both are zoned, the Penn Valley Park is zoned R1.5, and then the church area is R6. This is the current site plan that the applicant is proposing. You can kind of see where the 4 units are to go, and then the driveway is kind of on the south or on the bottom part of this site plan, accessing all 4 units. And then here's, of course, a larger scope view of their parking plan. They're providing 7 parking spaces, which is required. What's required is 4 for each of the units. And then some of the review criteria I just wanted to go over. We've kind of discussed the zoning and the use of the nearby property, but the suitability of the subject site for the use to which it's been restricted under the zoning regulations. Subject site is suitable for the use of a 4-unit townhome. The subject property has been restricted under the R6 zoning district, which does not allow for multi-unit homes. Rezoning the site to contextual zoning of R1.5 allows for the site to maintain consistency with other properties in the area. I also wanted to touch on the extent to which approving the rezoning will detrimentally affect nearby properties. Staff does not believe that rezoning this will detrimentally affect nearby properties. The building will be compliant with the zoning and development code through the plan review. And after the rezoning is approved, it will allow for the construction to finally be completed. And then H, the gain to the public safety. If this rezoning is denied, there is no gain to the public health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding neighborhood. The unfinished building would stay unfinished if they can't align with the current zoning, which is a safety hazard for surrounding property owners. The landowner would either have to have the structure as is or demolish and redesign the site with a building type that aligns better with R6 zoning, which essentially would just be a single-family dwelling. With that, staff is recommending approval for 4.1 and approval for 4.2, the rezoning and area plan amendment. Happy to take any questions.
I probably ought to wait till the applicant, but that current concrete structure is going to stay and then it is added on to that, or is it going to be removed and redone?
That's what I believe. That's what I've understood, is that the concrete structure will stay and it will be finished.
And so that current structure, as it's laid out now, that will be the living quarters where 4 different units
No,
are?
it'll be
Or
extended. It'll be extended to the rear of the
expanded?
property.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners to city staff? All right, let's move on to the applicant then.
Yes. Hi, this is Butch Doherty from B&A Architecture. I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the project.
I'd just like to hear a little bit about the actual building and facility itself, what it's going to look like when you're done.
Well, we haven't really got in too much into the design phase yet because we wanted to get the rezoning taken care of. But as was mentioned, we're going to leave as much of the concrete structure as possible, and that would be unit number 1. And then moving back to the west would be units 2, 3, and 4, kind of using the stucco finish to mimic the concrete finish and with some other more residential type materials involved.
Okay, so the new drive will be placed along the south side of the concrete structure, and then you're going to build to the west of the concrete structure that would have at least 3 stories, with the lower one being parking, and then
Yeah, the 2.5 to 3 stories. Again, we haven't finalized the design yet, but we know we can get the 4 units in there, and we think it's a good mix for the neighborhood.
Do you have any preliminary plans you can share?
Yeah. Yes, just. That's kind of our schematic. Bring it up. Oh, sorry. Trying to touch aside. Don't leave. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
We can see it now.
The building closest to the east is basically the concrete structure now.
Oh, okay.
And then as we're back, we have kind of a carport situation for the parking of the vehicles below the building, and then 2 stories up above that.
Okay, this is helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, well, let's open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
I'm Anna Roseborough. I live on 2721 Jarbo Street. Been in West Side for 52 years, actually for 72 years. But anyway, I live someplace else in my address. But anyway, I'm president of Sacred Heart Neighborhood Association. I'm speaking for the Sacred Heart area. We had a meeting on this and we all voted against the rezoning. We want to just keep it simple, just like the townhouses next door to it. We just don't want a big old, everybody agree it would be, I don't know, the side of it, it just doesn't look good in our area. So, so I'm speaking, everybody was opposed to this. Thank you.
Opposed, you said, or?
Opposed,
You're opposed to this project?
yes.
Okay.
Our rezoning, it could keep the zoning, we just don't want the,
Can you speak into the microphone?
They don't want to have it rezoned. Do we want to keep our zoning area for our area? Which is what, R1?
Yeah, it's,
So we don't want anything changed in that building. We don't want a bigger building there. The reason why is if you ever drive right there is a narrow street to get onto Southwest Trafficway. We're all about safety in our neighborhood. And if you have a fire in that area, there's no way equipment get in there or medical emergency. It's a narrow street getting to right there. It goes towards the plaza, which is what? The northbound going, be north.
So.
No, south. So there's no way going back and forth. It's just one-way street and it's a narrow street right by Channel 4. It's like there's a little narrow wall there.
yeah. Currently it's zone R6 and they want to rezone to R1.5.
Yeah, we don't
To
want-
have,
we
to
want-
be more dense,
Yeah,
where they have more people.
we want to
So-
keep it right now. The zoning it is in.
But isn't it down zoning? No,
No, it's allowing
Yeah,
more
yeah.
density where right now it would not allow density.
right. Yep.
But it was previously it's been a townhome, right? Or that's what it was going to be?
Previously there was nothing there. In that block. Go ahead. Yep.
That was built by some concrete contractor from Smithville, if I'm not mistaken. And the setback wasn't up to city code or what they didn't. There was an article in the Kansas City Star about that. And I know where she's coming from. That single lane street going up to Southwest Trafficway. You got those townhomes in between with the cans, those container homes.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make a turn right off Southwest Trafficway right there and make a quick turn in to get into the place. Or just a congested intersection. It's dangerous. That was my concern.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Huh?
Can you identify yourself, please? Your name and your address?
I'm Gerard Roseborough.
Speak into the microphone.
I'm Gerard Roseborough, and this is my wife.
We also have a hand raised online.
You do have a hand?
Mhm.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Lisa Guerra.
Yes, this is Lisa Guerra. I reside at 2929 Jarbo Street. I'm also a member of Sacred Heart Neighborhood Association, and we had several meetings, and everyone is opposed, especially the homes that the presenters failed to tell you about are not just a church. That's a single-family home, and next to it, another single-family home. And we already had the Signal Hill townhomes through Westside Housing that have been there, but we've been inundated with the storage unit or storage container units came on, and we're at a max. That shouldn't have passed through, and we're at a max with that street. Our streets are not equipped for that type of activity that we already have, and to put even 4 more is not okay. People go the wrong way on those streets. Also, the neighbors even said they'd rather have the concrete there than to have a 4-plex put in. we will all want single family homes put in. We don't want to be inundated with more apartment places. And also, when the presenters had the meeting with our neighbors, it was very vague. It's hard to approve anything with the vagueness that we received. They barely knew the owner's name when we were asking in some of the meetings. And it was kind of, it just, the process is not good for the neighbors. It's always favoring developers because it's just a idea that you're presented with. If you upzone, they can change that idea to anything else and then come back for approval. But once the upzoning is done, it's done. So they can sell the property and put something else somebody later. So that's why we would love a moratorium of downzoning and keeping single family homes so that way the neighbors get some type of voice in the process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Oh.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. From the applicant standpoint, obviously heard a lot of opposition to the project from the neighborhood as well as surrounding neighbors. Can you address some of that, please? And mainly its density.
Yeah, well, as the previous slide showed, we're actually, there's a lot of excuse me, R 1.5 properties in that area now. And, you know, it seems like we're surrounded in a way around the 1.5, and that's why we thought this was a good fit for that. It seemed to be the direction the neighborhood was going.
Do we have a map of that?
Yeah.
It should be helpful to get that pulled up.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it
We-
was it's all 1.5 round.
As you can see here, there's,
Oh,
sorry. Ed, can you see that now?
No.
I might be able to share a closer view.
Yeah.
So yeah, the direct behind is R 1.5, and then to the north is 1.5, and then to the south is R6.
Yes. Let me share. I'll share the map.
Just gonna share it.
So to the north and the west is all R 1.5, and then also to the east across Southwest Trafficway is R 1.5.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, just to be clear, north, all of those are R 1.5 as well, right?
Yes, this is all R 1.5.
Okay.
And Summit Street and Madison Avenue, is that two-way or one-way streets?
Summit is one way
It was one-way, okay.
going south.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Summit is south. Summit is south, one way south. Okay.
Okay. So from the applicant, anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, as I said before, we were kind of surrounded by the 1.5, and that's what we wanted to move forward with. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts from the commission? So at this time, we're going to close public testimony, so I need to say that first. And I think we're at a point where speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I would take a motion, but
I'm very supportive of the project, fully understand why the neighborhood wants to see single-family homes there. I think that the design is smart and that they are adding plenty of parking so that the parking will be off-street. And unfortunately, I don't see anyone being interested in developing this as single-family. And so I do think we'd have a concrete structure there for another 10 years or however long it's been. So I'll be supportive of the application.
Same here.
With that,
Padilla, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm supportive of the application as well.
Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item 4.1 without conditions and 4.2 without conditions.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 4.1 and 4.2. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Merkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
No.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Morel. Aye. Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes 6-1. So thank you for bringing that in, and let's move on to docket item number 5, please.
Docket item number 5 is case CD SUP 2026-23, a request to approve a special use permit in District R 2.5 on about 3.7 acres generally located at the southwest corner of Wallace Avenue and Wilson Avenue, allowing for an addition to an existing school. Matt Barnes is the staff planner. Sarah Knight is your applicant.
Please so.
Sarah Knight is online, and I'll promote her to panelist.
Okay, good morning. Matthew Barnes here with the special use permit for the International Academy addition. Site is located at 414 Wallace Drive. That's in the 4th Council District in the Riverfront Industrial Area Plan. Here is the site highlighted in yellow. It is an existing school operating as International Academy. They have been through here a few times for other special use permits over the years, but this is for a new addition, generally located in this area of the school. So this is looking west from Wallace Drive. It's kind of looking southwest from the intersection of Wallace and Winter Road. So they are proposing a 1,400 square foot addition. Any addition for civic use in a residential zoning district requires that special use permit. This will be 2 stories tall, so 7,000 square feet for the footprint, 14,000 square feet total. This will serve as a new entrance to the school. So it's highlighted there in red where the new entrance will be. The blue outline is kind of the existing school. This will allow for increased security measures, but does not increase the enrollment. They're also doing some ADA improvements highlighted in yellow towards the playground. Their proposed addition will be a brick facade. It does have some accent banding on that to match kind of the, the existing school. This will also include some metal coping and burnished concrete block. And they are proposing, staff had, was trying to break up that wall on the south elevation there. And they have agreed to kind of work on a mural for that elevation, kind of shown there in red. They are including street trees, shrub screening, and interior landscaping throughout the site. We're seen here on the right. And this is in accordance with section 88425. There's no registered neighborhood associations for this site. They did hold a public meeting on May 21st with no attendees. And with that, staff recommends approval subject to conditions of case number 5, and I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? All right, let's welcome the applicant then.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Knight. I am with MKEC Engineering, located at 11827 West 112th Street in Overland Park. And I just wanted to say thank you to Matthew Barnes for the presentation. We agree to all of the conditions and stipulations, and I am here for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 5, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then. Anything you'd like to add at this time from the applicant standpoint?
No, not on my side.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Carl, I move to approve docket item number 5 with conditions.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 5. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Morel.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much. Good luck. All right, let's move on to docket item number 7.
6.
Okay, 6, sorry.
Doc-
I thought I marked it out. My
Docket item
apologies.
number 6 is case CD SUP 2026-26. A request to renew a special use permit for an existing bed and breakfast on about 0.5 acres, generally located at 426 Gladstone Boulevard. Stephanie Saldari is the staff planner for this case.
Wait a second.
All right. Okay, good morning, commissioners. I got docket item number 6, CDSUP 2026-26. And this is a special use permit for a bed and breakfast over in 426 Gladstone Boulevard. So the subject site is located right over here where that arrow is pointing. And highlighted in yellow is the subject site with an existing carriage house. And this is the view of the building from Gladstone Boulevard. It is a historically designated building. So this is a renewal from the last SUP that was approved in 2023. No changes are being made. The site meets all of the criteria, and staff recommends approval with conditions. And that
Okay.
concludes my
Short and
presentation.
sweet, huh?
Yep, there's not much
right.
to say.
Any questions for city staff regarding docket item number 6? Okay. Good morning. Welcome the applicant then. Thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add? Kind of tell us, this is a renewal of a SUP.
No, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, nothing's really changed. We had to jump through a few hoops to get here and last time, and we've complied to everything. Things have been going well. We've done everything we can to keep the business low key, if you will, because that's always the concern, I think, of the neighborhood, is that there's this idea that a bed and breakfast or any kind of short-term rental adds certain chaos to the neighborhood. All I have to add though is I think in our case, it's kind of the opposite, because compared to the rentals that are normal rentals in the neighborhood, those are people that live there 24/7, and there's families, and there's lots of cars, and there's dogs and kids, and we're there. We have like people 4 days a week at the most, and there's hardly any, and they're just very mellow, well-behaved people. I mean, there's no dogs, and it's kind of the opposite. Is what I'm trying to say of what I think the perception is. So I just want to add that to the record, that it's not what.
Okay. And you're Ross?
I am.
Okay. You mind stating your name just for the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Ross Wright, owner of the house. This is Angela Carol Brown. She's the manager of the property.
Okay. What's the length of this SUP? Previous one was.
The previous one was 3 years. For this round, we are asking to not have an expiration date, but that would
Okay.
be up to the commission.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. Everything's going well. Why
Yeah,
don't we put a date on it?
I'm
So,
okay with that.
Okay.
And they are in my backyard, and I walk by it a lot, so it's maintained well.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
As long as you pick up after
After my dog.
Yeah, the dogs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Any questions for the applicant then from the commission? All right, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 6, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then. Anything you'd like to add this time?
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Move to approve docket item number 6 with conditions.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 6 with conditions. What are the conditions?
There's not a lot.
Okay. And you did see those, by the way? What's expected, those 6 of them?
Yeah, it's the same as last time.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll.
I'll make sure of that before we get the.
Yeah, they haven't changed much from the last SCP.
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Merkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Passick.
Aye.
Morale.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes. Thank you. I appreciate your work on this and
Appreciate it.
coming back.
All right.
All right. Docket item number 7, please.
Docket item number 7 is case CD SUP 2026-24. A request to approve a special use permit to allow the expansion of a used vehicle sales business in an M1-5 zoning district on about 0.427 acres generally located at 1031 to 1035 North Kansas Avenue. Alec Gustafson is the staff planner for this case. Your applicant online, do you know?
So it should be
I don't see
a mayor.
a Mayor Abbas.
Yes.
I'm promoting them to panelist.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Mace Helmi. I am Amir's wife. We are the owner of KC Metro Auto Sales. So lately we purchased like a small piece
Hold
of land.
on. If I can interrupt you, we'll start with the staff presentation.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Okay.
We'll call you in a second.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. For the record, Alec Gustafson, City Planning and Development. This is docket item number 7, CD SUP 2026-24 for KC Metro Auto Sales SUP. The location is 1031 North Kansas Avenue in the Northeast. Here's a broader scope. This is along North Kansas Avenue and North Chestnut Traffic Way, which I believe eventually turns into North Gardner Avenue. And then to the east, you have North Agnes Avenue. We're looking at 2 sites, but really it's just the one site to the south that is being expanded. So this used car lot in an M15 is being expanded to the south, which requires them to get a special use permit for that expansion.
Are they consolidating the lots?
They will be. Yes, that's a condition on the
Okay.
on the special use permit. So the case history is just a new building permit for the new structure on the south portion of the lot is currently under review. That's kind of what started this whole thing was they were planning to move the building that you can see on the south of this site plan onto that secondary lot to the south. So when I first saw that building plan review, I said that needs a special use permit because of the M15 and the necessity of all used vehicle sales uses needing a special use permit in regardless of zoning district. So this is just a view from Gardner Avenue of March 2026. And this is a view from North Kansas Avenue, March 2026. This is a view of the expansion site from North Kansas Avenue. And then these are the site plans that they are showing currently. They're going to be adding landscaping along the North Kansas Avenue side and the North Gardner Avenue side. And then with the expansion, they're planning to move that building that was directly south of the existing structure further south into this new lot. They're providing a 6-foot fence, wood fence buffer strip, to provide screening for the houses, for the one residential house to the south of here. Seeing it's an M1 zoning district, there are still residential structures in the area. But they're proposing landscaping, wrought iron fencing around the site, and then with that wood fence on the southern border. The review criteria I wanted to look at was, is this special use permit in the interest of public convenience? And will it not have a significant adverse impact on the general welfare? This is this property is used as a used vehicle sales lot and has been in continuous operation since 2012. It's as referenced by our orthographic information imagery, but seen as quality improvements over time. It's planning to expand the current use and thereby expand the landscaping and screening, using wood fence along the residential adjacent border and wrought iron along North Kansas Avenue. Site is being improved. The proposed expansion is in the interest of public convenience and would be a positive impact on the general welfare of the neighborhood and community. Criteria D, is this compatible with the character of the surrounding area in terms of operating characteristics, hours of operation, and outdoor lighting? The proposed use, we would say, is compatible with the character of the surrounding area. However, the applicant will need to meet conditions 1 and 12 to be more compatible with the character of the area in terms of outdoor lighting. The applicant did not provide operating characteristics, and so those must be shown on the cover sheet prior to the Board of Zoning adjustment, per condition 8. And there's not expected to be an increase in traffic or noise generation with this proposal. So we're really just asking them to meet the conditions 1 and 12, which require them to have outdoor lighting, an outdoor lighting plan, and an outdoor lighting affidavit. Those are to be done prior to the certificate of occupancy. And then condition 8 being that they provide the hours of operation on the cover sheet prior to BZA next week. And then criteria E, will not have a significant adverse impact on pedestrian safety or comfort. In just continuing the current use of the subject site as a used car lot, the proposed use will not have a significant adverse impact. And with that, I guess I had all that written out. Just showing you the conditions here. Condition number 5 is where we're going to ask them to combine by deed, those two lots prior to the C of O. And then 7, that's just letting you know that this special use permit shall expire 2 years after the issuance of the disposition letter. So we'll see it again in 2 years when they do a renewal. So we can check on the fencing and the landscaping and the lighting. And then 8, operating characteristics and noise traffic generation notes must be placed on the cover sheet prior to BZA next week. And then this is a condition number 12 by Officer Jeffrey Krebs about the lighting plan and asking for that before C of O. So with that, staff is recommending approval with conditions. And I can answer any questions.
Item 7 with the special use permit after 2 years of the disposition. When does that get sent? Is that after BZA approval?
Yeah, that'll be after BZA. So
they may not have permits to do their project at the same time, correct?
Yeah. So we'll issue the disposition letter probably next Friday. And then the
Disposition letters are issued within 10 days of the BZA hearing. Or
yeah, I'm just
within, the recommendation disposition is within 10 days of your hearing.
So assuming they still need to go through the permitting process to get their permit to build, and then it takes time to build. Is there like instead of the disposition letter, is it possible to get it at temporary TCO?
Well, they can
at that time, or
they can.
I mean, just to have time for the 2 year.
Well, they can get their building permit as soon as they could get their disposition letter on Friday and go pull their building permits right away that day.
Assuming that's been submitted and reviewed.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So then there's like a 2-week window for the building permit to be reviewed. So, I mean,
yeah, just some of these conditions take a little bit longer than just pulling a building permit for the actual structure.
Right.
The only reason because they got to go through the stormwater evaluation and they take, so that's why I was just curious if it can be written at the time of temporary occupancy or something like that instead of disposition, because they may not have the full use of the special use permit for a period of time to get permitting and construction completed. So then they're down to, well,
Yeah.
they haven't even been able to operate because very long. It's just
Right.
a question.
No, it's a good point. I mean, we can
Or
consider
increase it to
changing that
3
condition.
years.
It's up to
Okay.
the commission.
All right. I'll see what the rest of the commission is
Yeah, I mean, it
in
works.
the mood for.
I mean, it works if the applicant with like works in earnest to get it done. And so I think in this instance it works because we're only extending the special use permit for the work. Whereas I think in the past maybe it's been written this way because we're trying to push the applicant to move quickly.
To get the improvements done.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think in this instance you're right.
And there's,
it could be TCO.
yeah, I get that. And sometimes it's, hard for them to, things are not under their control to get completed. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for the city staff? All right, well, let's welcome the applicant then.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mays Helmi and I am Amir Abbas' wife, and I'm trying to speak on his behalf here. I'm here to request approval for special use permit to extend our business and to improve the area. You can tell from the picture is the lot. It's been like a dumpster for a long time and we purchased it lately, and it's going to be such a helpful like extent to our business to put the cars in the back area. So I appreciate like if you look to my case and accept it and give me the approval for the special use permit to do so.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right. With that, let's open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 7, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. So we'll close public testimony. So I just want to make sure from the applicant standpoint, you understand the conditions as they're written today?
Yes, sir. I understand it.
Okay. All right, with that, close testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item number 7 with conditions, amending condition number 7 to read that the special use permit shall expire after 2 years after the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item 7 with the change in the timing of when the SUP starts. Margaret, can you take a roll call on it? Motion, please.
Harkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Morel. Aye. Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes. Thank you very much. Good luck with
Thank
your
you.
project.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're moving on to docket item number 8, please.
Docket item number 8 is case CD CPC 2026-54. A request to approve a rezoning from UR to a base zoning district of B3-2 on about 4.356 acres, generally located at 6300 East 87th Street. Alec Gustafson is still the staff planner. The applicant, John Mullen, is online, and I'll promote him to panelist.
I believe there should be a Franklin as
Jeremy
well.
Franklin.
Franklin. Yep.
I'll also promote them to panelist.
Hi there, am I coming through?
Yes.
Yep, give us a couple minutes here as we go through the staff report first.
Okay, once again, for the record, Alec Gustafson, City Planning and Development. This is docket item number 8, CD CPC 2026-54. This is the Franklin Mitsubishi rezoning. The site is located at 6300 East 87th Street, just west of Raytown. The site, this is a broader scope of it, is within a UR zoning district. It's right next to a B2-2 and then I-435 with B1 and B2 across the street. And then you have R 7.5 zoning directly north of the subject site. This is actually 3 different parcels that are being considered for this rezoning. These 3 parcels are considered to be rezoned out of the UR district to a B3-2 zoning district. There is no area plan amendment required for this one. And then a little bit of the case history. In this case, 7246 P8 was approval of a final plan in District C3A1P, which was intermediate business and limited district, to allow auto sales in an existing 6,500 square foot building and to replace an existing sign. This was approved in November 2006. And then it was actually rezoned into a URD, a 467.28 acre URD, which was approved December 13th, 2006. And then this is the site being in that UR zoning district. It says it's not in the TIF project area, but you can see that it is shown on this map. So it was mapped to be in the UR. And then currently the UR zoning allows for the site to be a dealership vehicle sales use. The property owner intends to move the current Mitsubishi dealership and sell the 3 lots. By rezoning out of the UR, the property to B3-2, the zoning allows for a wider variety of uses, making it easier to sell. Future land use designation by the Blue Ridge area plan calls for commercial future land use, so it fits that B3-2 zoning. B3-2 also requires a special use permit for any other vehicle sales use on the site. So if we rezoned it to B3-2 and someone else wanted to come in and do a similar use, they would be required to do a special use permit. However, the owner is not looking to necessarily sell specifically to someone who wants to do an auto-related use. So with rezoning out of the UR into B3-2, it allows for more flexibility on the site. B3 does restrict other uses such as vehicle storage and towing, self-storage and warehousing, and indoor/outdoor warehousing, wholesaling, storage, and freight movement. Those would be something that B3 would restrict. Just kind of letting you know, like, one of the concerned uses. We also have a view right here of the view of Franklin Mitsubishi from East 87th Street. And then this is looking east from East 87th Street at the Quick Trip directly east of the site. And then this is a view looking south from East 87th Street, just kind of an open lot, undeveloped. The review criteria I wanted to go through is initially just the suitability of the subject property for the uses, which has been restricted. Under the current UR zoning, only motor vehicle sales is permitted on this site. Rezoning would be necessary to allow for other commercial uses. Rezoning to B3-2 does not allow the same motor vehicle sales use as a matter of right. Any future tenants would be required to receive approval of special use permit if they would like to operate a similar use as a used vehicle sales. And then G, the extent to which approving the rezoning will detrimentally affect nearby properties. Rezoning the property to a B3-2 zoning is not expected to detrimentally affect the nearby properties. With the current site having been a car dealership for at least 20 years, the neighborhood would not see any real changes. If a new car dealership should come in under the new B3-2 zoning with an SUP. However, if there were to be any other new types of businesses permitted within that B3-2, it's possible that different hours of operation and business characteristics could have an impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And then H, the gain, if any, to public health, safety, and welfare due to denial of the application. There's not really expected to be any gain to the public health, safety, or welfare if this rezoning is denied. The result of a denial would be that the property remains within that UR zoning district, which limits the use of the property to a car dealership, making the property more difficult for the current owner to sell. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning. I can answer any questions we have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? Can you stop sharing? There you go. All right, let's welcome the applicant then.
Hey, I'm John Mullen. I'm working with Jeremy, who's also on here to kind of get his property rezoned. And I think Alec explained pretty much what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to get the property out of its current UR zoning and into a broader B3-2 zoning, just to kind of put it back to where it was prior to the redevelopment district, now that it's not really applicable, and happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right, let's open it up for public testimony. If anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 8, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony. I imagine you don't have anything else to add, Mr. Mullen?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right, thank you. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Corral, I move to approve docket item number 8 without conditions.
Was
Sec-
it number 8 or
Yep.
number 10?
Number 8.
Was it number? Okay. Second.
All right, I got a motion in 2 seconds for approval of docket item number 8. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Morel.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes then. Thank you, Mr. Mullen, and good luck with sale of the property.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Yep. All right, so we're skipping number 9 because we've already continued that one, and we're sneaking in number 10.
Item 10.1 is case CD CPC 2026-59, a request to approve an area plan amendment to the Country Club Waldo area plan from commercial residential low density to mixed-use neighborhood on about 0.8 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Ward Parkway Plaza and West 81st Street. And item 10.2 is case CD CPC 2026-53, a request to approve a rezoning from R6 to B1-1 on about 0.8 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Ward Parkway Plaza and West 81st Street. Justin Smith is the staff planner.
All right, good afternoon, City Plan Commission. This is, my name's Justin Smith, Kansas City Planning and Development Management Division. In front of you is docket item 10.1 and 10.2. This is a request for a rezoning and area plan amendment. Subject site is located within the 6th District, just north of 85th Street and east of Ward Parkway. Within the Country Club Waldo area plan. Closer look at the site, you can see it's on the northeast corner of West 81st Street and Ward Parkway Plaza. This site is split zone between B1-1 and R6. A history on the site of how we got here to this rezoning. A building plan was submitted in October of 2025. The plan set did include a parking expansion of the existing parking lot that encroached onto the R-zoned portion of the lot. Instead of holding up the building application, staff and the applicant did reach an agreement to add the following condition to the building plan: that the applicant gain approval of a rezoning and seek the proper permits for the parking lot addition on the north portion of the property prior to certificate of occupancy. So as you can see on the image on the left, this is our image from 2024 from Parcel Viewer. You can see the parking lot does encroach into the R zoning district, but the plan submittal on the right includes a lot more parking. From my understanding, when Scoville purchased the property, that parking addition was already there. And per 88-420 of the Zoning and Development Code, access to off-street parking areas serving non-residential uses may not traverse residentially zoned properties. We did work with Scoville to ask that they add a zoning buffer. Instead of rezoning the whole property to B1-1, add a 15-foot buffer from the northern property that is zoned R6 and predominantly all single-family housing. And so this kind of ensures if the northern portion of this site, which is shown as Lot 62, is developed, that they'll have a nice zoning setback from any future development. With that, an area plan amendment is required. The existing future land use is commercial and residential low density, so the area plan amendment will amend the whole lot to mixed-use neighborhood. This is just an image looking north on 81st and Ward Parkway Plaza. And then here's an image showing, we can't find an image of the parking lot expansion, but here is where that parking lot is. There is some good landscaping here to buffer from that residential. So with that, staff does recommend approval of the area plan amendment and the rezoning, and I can answer any questions.
Yeah, I've got
Thank you.
a quick question. So the picture I'm pulling from Google, so the same thing that you have. There's like a couple large trees that seem to be on this property. Are those going to continue? Because one of the comments that I saw was about like a visible buffer between the spaces.
Yeah, so those trees will remain. One of the concerns we did have was that we don't have any no permits or plans of this parking lot expansion, so it's not landscaped in accordance with the zoning and development code, but yes, those trees will remain.
Well, that's what I mean is there a condition that, I mean, when they have the plan, they will have to buffer that whole from commercial to residential, right?
So there's no condition stating that, but with the portion of obtain proper permits for the parking lot, one of the comments would be to landscape that in accordance with.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for city staff? Okay, do you mind stop sharing?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, let's welcome the applicant then. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here today.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon.
Thank you. All right, state your name and address for the record and anything else you'd like to add?
Jim Scoville, 6424 Inslee Lane, Mission Hills, Kansas, 66208.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add from the?
No, there's really not, other than that we have no intentions of developing this lot and all of the landscaping will remain.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's open it up for public testimony then. Anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 10, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. We'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add? I mean, you're the last case of the day.
Yeah,
We got
well,
got till 5.
We'll let you get out.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Carl, I move to approve docket item 10.1 without conditions and 10.2 without conditions.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 10.1 and 10.2. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Merkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Morale. Aye. Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've gone through our agenda for the day. Anything that needs to come before the commission? Any thoughts or whatever?
Nothing for today.
So we've got one more meeting in June and then,
Got one more meeting in June. You will not meet the first week of July. That
Okay.
meeting was canceled. So see you in 2 weeks and then we'll see you a month after that.
okay. Commissioner Padilla, where do we need to be for any of the games?
Did you get us passes?
Yes.
Oh,
GA.
Heard
for
it. It's on
everybody.
record.
For standing room, thanks. All right.
By the way,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be. I'm unable to attend the next meeting. I'm working, and the reason I'm online today is because we got hired to work the workup, so I'm gonna be unable to attend.
Okay, congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks.
with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, thank you, everybody.
See you.
Will there be enough for reforms? I'll be out.
Could be.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.